January 13th, 2020. Happy New Year to everybody. So it is 6 p.m. So on the agenda tonight, we have agenda approval. Approval of minutes from 12/12, 12/19, special meeting 1 and special meeting 2. Reading of the warrants. Then select board members' statement. Public comment. Mail. Then old business health officer regarding the Board of Health meetings. Use of Sheriff's Department to serve papers and cell phone. Fiscal year 19 external audit. Discussion of internal auditor Gardner's concerns regarding treasurer and administrative assistant. Town office project update. Buses SVSU contract. FOIA procedure. Town administrative position. Office help. And then under new business, worker comp for both fire departments. Scheduled general fund budget work session. Hello, Patricia. And then we'll adjourn. So, I'll hear a motion to approve the agenda.
Oh, I'd like to motion for a hard stop at 8 o'clock.
For what?
8 o'clock?
8:30.
8:30?
What do you think, Harry?
Second.
You second that?
Sure.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda with a hard stop at 8:30. Is there any discussion?
Can I ask a question before you approve the minutes?
We have a motion on the
I
floor.
actually have two things to add to the minutes. I'm sorry, to the agenda.
Yeah.
Under new business, can we add voicemails and road condition communication?
This is a special meeting.
This is a special meeting. I don't think we're allowed to alter the agenda.
Okay.
Oh, then can I motion to hard stop?
Yeah, you probably can't motion a
Okay.
hard stop then.
Okay.
All right, so strike that motion. So here a motion to approve the agenda as stated.
Can I, before you take a vote, make a comment?
Sure, but
Okay, I just suggest that under C, that the agenda be amended to take out Gardner's name. It's not Crystal Gardner's concerns, it's the auditor's concerns, and it should be all
No,
of
it's Crystal Gardner's concern based on an email that she sent.
Oh, okay.
But the email says the internal auditors.
Yeah, and I don't think they were all privy to that email before it was sent. That's why.
Okay.
I'll read the email so
Okay.
you can see when we get there.
okay. All right. So any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Marlena?
I was an I.
Okay. All right. So moving on to the approval of the minutes from 12/12, 12/19, special 1, special 2. Hear a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve minutes.
Second.
Stated.
Okay. And I second. All right. All in favor of approving the minutes as stated, say aye.
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 All opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Okay. All right. Reading of the warrants. All right. So this is a long one. So payroll ending 12/15/19 in the amount of $8,353.16. Payroll ending 12/22/19 in the amount of $8,690.70. Payroll ending 12/29/19 in the amount of $6,580.62. Payroll ending 1/5/20 in the amount of $9,363.08. Accounts payable 25 ending 12/20/19 in the amount of $24,492.58. Accounts payable 26 12/27/19 in the amount of $14,690.11. Accounts payable 26A 12/31/19 in the amount of $7,845.20. Accounts payable 27 on 1/3/2020 on the amount of $90,268.78. Accounts payable 28 on 1/10/2020 in the amount of $26,322.23. Accounts payable 28A on 1/11/20 in the amount of $4,113.20. Accounts payable 29 in the amount, or on 1/12/2020 in the amount of $24,674.00. And says 2019 ballot articles.
So moved.
All right, so we have a motion. I'll second it to approve the the warrants. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Marlena?
I have to abstain. I'm not there.
That's all right.
Well, we still have to have it on record.
but it wasn't opposing.
No.
All right, so select board member statements. Members statement. So,
Hey, Brian,
yes, ma'am.
is that plural or possessive?
Plural.
Plural.
Members.
Okay, so all members' statement.
Yeah, if you wish to read a statement, this is the time to do it. Or if you have something to say, this is how the time to do it. So, I have a prepared statement. Does anybody else?
I do.
Liz does? Harry? Or are you just going to make...
I've got something to say. I didn't write it
Okay.
all down.
All right.
I have a statement from Bob Jarvis. He asked me to read it.
Okay. All right, so, well, I would like to go first, but does anybody have any objections to that? No? Okay, so, bear with me, people, and please don't interrupt me. Let me read my statement, please. So, I know there has been a very heated discussion about the emails and their content. I just want to say that I feel the same frustration and anger at the type of language used against some of our citizens by individuals who are supposed to be working for the benefit of all the people of the town, not just a select few. Also, the betrayal of the public's trust by some of those same individuals who engaged in discussion of confidential information provided to them illegally by certain individuals. While I cannot stop someone from speaking to you and telling you information, I would expect that as trusted members of this community and town government, that you would have stopped the individual from disclosing confidential information and also have notified the select board of such egregious actions and violations. Instead, some of you chose not only to listen, but also offer input and attempted to manipulate the individuals who divulged the information to you, all in an attempt to manipulate the select board into proceeding in courses of actions that we may not otherwise have taken. It was unethical of you to befriend and manipulate a town employee to your own benefit to push your private agendas. For those actions, those of you involved should be ashamed of yourselves. For those of you still serving in official capacities for the town, I would expect you to publicly apologize for your actions. The only way we as a community can attempt to come together is if all the people have faith in their town government to be open and transparent in the manner that they conduct town business. One great way to start towards this is for the board to address this issue head on. Then hope that honest, caring individuals who only have the best interest of the town and all its people come forward and help by volunteering, voting, and getting involved in a constructive, positive manner. I think the exposure of these emails has been an opportunity for the people of the town to know what has been going on behind the scenes and the struggle the select board has had with honesty of all town government. Although I feel everyone is entitled to their feelings and thoughts, I do not condone any name-calling or bullying before and after the email release. I have and always will want what is best for all the citizens of Pownal. I would like to see all this energy put to good use for the benefit of Pownal. Brian Harris. That is my statement. And I will provide a copy to the banner if the banner so wishes. And anybody else that wishes a copy, I printed off a dozen of them. So, let's do round robin. Liz, do you have anything you would like to say?
I do. When I ran for select board, I promised to be transparent, and I promised to do what is right and fair for the town of Pownal. I have been watching and learning as I go with wide eyes and open ears. The chain of events over the past few weeks have made things crystal clear to me. There is really no denying the content of the emails that have been released. They speak for themselves. I'm saddened to say that the divide I thought we as a board could get rid of is still here. Knowing what I know now, of course there is a divide. This divide is because of the actions of a select board member and certain appointed individuals. These individuals have lost my respect, trust, and it is extremely clear that these individuals do not have the town of Pownal or the people of Pownal's best interest at heart. I do not feel comfortable working hand in hand with these people. They have lied, misguided, manipulated information, and people for that matter. Some have had access to sensitive information when they shouldn't have, not to mention the belittling of the people of the town of Pownal as well as members of the select board. Some have even gone as far as trying to publicly humiliate town employees, fire town employees, set up town employees. This is unacceptable on so many levels. I have no confidence in these individuals. I have recently read an email by one of these individuals to another that said he really thought that Elizabeth would fall in line. Well, I have fallen in line. I promise to speak the truth and to be transparent. So with all of that being said, I'm going to motion for Marlena Pellin, Jenny Dwar, Michael Slattery, Sid Smithers, Crystal Gardner, and Shannon McLenithan to resign from their positions. Yeah. If I need to break this motion down individually, wait, please let me finish. I will certainly do so. I want each of you individuals to hear the votes of the select board that are supposed to be working with, not against. I want you to know who on the board has lost confidence and trust in you. This community needs to be able to trust in us and know that we are all working together.
So, Harry, do you have something you want to say?
Yes. I'm very disappointed in the subcommittee leadership. I mean, when,
Oh, wait, I made a motion.
well,
Oh,
that was,
I thought we were gonna wait until
We
after.
can wait until after.
Let everybody have their
Sorry.
statements.
it was kind of Mr. Slattery to speak as a civilian on the matter, but personally and professionally, I feel being on the subcommittee and being blind copied, as we all know by these emails that came out, including you said, that you could have taken a higher road and brought, maybe we could have came to another consequence if you guys had come forth to the board that there was other concerns. But because of the way it all played out, we feel that there was a lot of misleading, misguided, and attempted manipulation to the board as far as direction. And I personally have lost trust. And it's just disgusting. I mean, here we all worked and talked before March as far as the divide in the town and wanting to work together and bring people together. And I don't see where you guys personally were working to do that. I'm sorry. That's my own personal feeling. And I don't tolerate bullying and never have, and I feel that there was directive, and that's how I felt the direction with the TA was towards the select board. And I just have lack of confidence in our subcommittees right now because of all that has transpired. Thank you.
Okay. Marlena, is there anything you want to say?
Sure. I'll take the information under advisement.
You don't have any of your own statement that you wish to read?
Not today.
Okay.
Okay. Now, Fred, you said Bob gave you a statement?
Bob gave us a statement. He asked me to read it for him in his absence.
Okay. Would you come up to where the microphones are at the table, please, so that you can be heard by whoever's watching at home, and speak loud?
Grab my chair. Where's the microphone?
There's one here and there's one down there toward Harry. And speak up for the people that are Facebook live streaming over in the corner.
Try my voice. It is clear from the released emails that Ms. Pellin was targeting the treasurer, the town clerk, and the administrative assistant for termination or removal from office, dating back to at least April of 2019, shortly after getting on the select board. To achieve this end, Ms. Pellin not only misled the board repeatedly, she also attempted to mislead the forensic auditor, the VLCT, our town attorney, our internal auditors, as well as the public in open sessions. Ms. Pellin asked the state auditor a hypothetical question about how to handle a treasurer that refuses to pay the forensic auditor. She then misrepresented the response to the select board chair as direction from the state auditor to fire our administrative assistant and to take action against our treasurer. In an email to the select board chair, she stated, quote, "If Linda does not comply, we can immediately terminate her for dereliction of duty and delaying a forensic audit. This is our right per the Secretary of State. For Ellen, we can publicly humiliate an open meeting by discussing the incooperation with the forensic audit," end quote. There was no evidence that any town officials or employees were not cooperating with paying invoices. I would also point out that the treasurer does not even pay invoices. Both the town administrator and Selectwoman Pellin told our town attorney that they had received confirmation from the forensic auditor that the treasurer was refusing to pay invoices, when this was patently false. This is another example of a long-standing habit of Ms. Pellin's, which is to ask hypothetical questions to varying entities such as lawyers, the VLCT, state agencies, etc., to get her preferred response. She would then present the generalized answers from these entities as directives and instructions on how to handle specific situations. Ms. Pellin has repeatedly refused requests by the Select Board to share her correspondences with state and support entities such as the VLCT, the state auditor, the Secretary of State, etc. She stated that she had absolutely no responsibility to share her research, that we should do our own, even chastising the board, and suggested all 5 members should ask the VLCT the same question simply because she refuses to cooperate with fellow Select Board members. The most recent and likely the most insidious manipulation by Ms. Pellin is in regards to an executive session that she scheduled with the forensic auditor. Through evaluation of the emails, it is clear that our forensic auditor did not request an executive session and in fact stated the exact opposite. Quote, "It does not rise to legal or contractual," end quote. It is also clear that Ms. Pellin knew this all along and deceived the board and the public, falsely claiming she simply misinterpreted the request. Although Ms. Pellin would like us to believe that she just made a simple mistake and misread what Mr. Graham stated regarding need for executive session, this is patently false. Ms. Pellin wrote several emails to the internal auditors and also to the chairman and our town lawyer, falsely asserting that not only had Mr. Graham requested executive session, but she also stated that he requested that no one speak about the executive session to anyone. She instructed the internal auditors to, quote, "use discretion and not talk about your attendance to anyone outside yourselves or Mr. Harris," end quote. She told one of the auditors that, quote, "he wants to talk about your spreadsheet," end quote. Although later Ms. Pellin stated that she had never had a conversation with the forensic auditor beyond the one email asking if the meeting should be an executive. She told Brian that, quote, "Jeff wants executive session with internal auditors, but he does not want it publicized, so keep it to legal contractual per his advice. He has much to tell the board," end quote. When other board members asked her to divulge the subject matter of the executive session, she refused, instead saying, quote, "an external business partner has requested to meet with the board in executive session for legal contractual," end quote. When we asked who the business partner was, she responded casting suspicion and blame on her fellow board members for even asking questions. She then wrote a very long and inappropriate email to our forensic auditor blaming her fellow select board members for falsely accusing her of manipulative behavior in an attempt to sidestep the fact that we found out she had been intentionally deceiving not only the rest of us, but the forensic and internal auditors and the town attorney. It is clear from these machinations and manipulations that the end goal was to, quote, walk out Linda and publicly humiliate Ellen," end quote, as stated in her October 30th email to the chair of the board. I believe she was hoping to achieve this end in this executive session. The clear targeting of these positions through use of misrepresentations and deception also establishes a clear conflict of interest in her involvement with anything to do with audits, disciplinary actions, and or any legal matters. I have lost complete trust in Selectwoman Pellin as a colleague and also as a representative of the needs and voices of the people of Pownal. This blatant manipulation has to end, and I recommend that disciplinary action be taken against Ms. Pellin and all other involved parties in the attempted interference with the forensic audit and the targeting of town staff and elected officials.
Thank you.
Is that everything?
Yeah, that's Bob's.
Thank you. Thank you for reading that on behalf of Select Person Jarvis.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I do have one other thing to say.
Sure, go ahead, Harry.
That I'm proud to be a knuckle-dragging son of a gun. I work with my hands.
Me too.
I don't
Me
sit
too.
behind a desk and play with papers. I mean, if that's what you went to school for, God bless you, and you can make a living. I make a living with my hands. I mean, I thought that was pretty rude in that email also.
I missed that last part.
I said I thought that was pretty rude in the email, and using that as belittling.
I think it was inbred too. Inbred knuckle dragging.
Inbred knuckle dragging
All right.
people. I mean, there's a lot of people in this town that are hard workers. Just because we don't have $1 million mansions and drive $1 million cars or whatever, we're here to support every member of the town, and we hope that they can do that fairly for everybody as a board. So,
Thank you. Okay, so now that we've each read our statement and said what we wanted to say, should we move on to public comment?
Excuse me.
Oh, I had a motion.
Oh,
well,
I
I
had.
don't know if that's legally to be done. That's what
I have to hear the comment first.
I don't know.
that I don't know. As far as how
what, if she can make a motion?
the motion that she requested in her
I can do it
statement.
individually.
Well,
didn't-
she read a statement that she wanted to make a motion. It wasn't actually a motion. That's not the way I interpreted it.
I said
Right,
I am
but-
going to make a motion.
but what I'm saying is I don't know how to properly.
I mean, we
for her
don't
to
have everyone
properly
here,
do that.
and obviously it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
We're gonna have.
Okay.
You can symbolically ask for resignations,
Okay.
but we as a select board,
I know we can't do that. It has to be unanimous across
Yeah,
the board.
for-
but
but we as a
just
select
get
board,
point across.
it's symbolic.
I think it's clear that we all have the same idea
That's all I was
and are completely.
do it
Disgusted.
properly. That's
You know, Linda.
so. We can do some
Okay.
research
Public
on that.
comment. Public
That's
comment. We can
right.
bring it to another day, I guess.
Okay.
There was no second, so it died.
Well, no.
All right. So moving on to public comment. Does anybody have any comments they want to say? Megan had her hand up first. Please come forward, state your name, and speak to the microphone, please.
My name is Megan Randall. I'm on the Planning Commission. I've worked under Mike Slattery. I agree that was a ill-chosen, those were ill-chosen words. I don't see that, I think he probably wrote them out of extreme frustration. He's spent, I think it's been 13 years on the Planning Commission, doing really good work voluntarily.
And
No.
He didn't say
I
that.
don't
No.
think I said
No,
that.
he didn't
No,
say.
Michael
Oh.
did not say that.
Oh,
It was
okay.
stated in an email
Oh, okay,
to
thank you for that.
all
Thank you for that
of the
correction.
people in question.
Okay.
But thanks
good.
for sticking up for me anyway.
Well, all I have to say is, so much of this, it goes back to the Empower Pownal thing and the divide over that. It's people would be foolish to think that it's all, these terrible, this terrible cabal of people against, the people of Pownal. That's not true at all. And every time people try to volunteer and to come into this town with energy and excitement, they get slapped down for one reason or another. And Mike Slattery is a case in point of someone who has spent years and years and years trying to work for this town. And I can't just sit here and listen to this kind of slander. Also, the same thing with Marlena Pellin. Just because you disagree with someone doesn't mean that you try to get her to resign. That's ridiculous.
It's not disagreeing. I don't disagree with her. She's lying and manipulating everything.
I don't see it. I see you guys
Let her
as
finish her statement.
being not very transparent either, with all your executive sessions and all this stuff. You just,
Well, I'll speak to the executive sessions. The bulk of the executive sessions were us trying to do the evaluation for our town administrative assistant, dealing with the information provided to us to get us to initiate a forensic audit, dealing with numerous conversations with our lawyer about different issues. Every one of our executive sessions were completely legal. It wasn't us trying to lie.
I'm not saying they're not legal. I'm saying you're not transparent. Certainly, Bob Jarvis is not transparent with his extremely right-wing and libertarian
Every
politics,
citizen
which he has never come out and said, but he's just totally opposed to, for instance, Empower Pownal because it had to do with a green economy.
I take offense to what you just said about Bob Jarvis. You described what wing that you suppose he belongs to. What wing do you belong to, Megan? You must belong to a wing.
I believe that climate change is a huge problem in this country
So what wing
and
is
in
that?
this world.
What wing is that,
and that
Megan?
I guess
All right,
you
hold
would
on.
call that left
Calm
wing.
down.
Thank you.
You
Calm
know.
down. Going way off track. So,
So,
Please
my
state
name is
your name.
Tiffany Zwinga. I think it's extremely irresponsible for anybody to show up here and not have read the emails. If you are a reasonable, good-hearted human being and you've read those emails, you would be disgusted. Marlena was conniving, manipulative. If you want to read the emails, I have all of them. I would be happy to share them with you so you can educate yourself.
I
The people,
don't think that.
I didn't interrupt you. You don't need to interrupt
Okay,
me.
okay.
Thank you. The people involved and the things that were said were people that are part of Empower Pownal and Discover Pownal and all of those groups. The things that they said were horrible about the people of Pownal. It's just, you need to read the emails and educate yourself before you come in here and comment about it. If you don't know what it says, you can't say that it wasn't a big deal. It is a big deal. You don't treat people like that. That's the problem with humanity today. You don't treat people like that. I know Marlena personally. This is her MO. This is who she is. This is how she treats people. I am not surprised one bit. But I would love to share with you the horrible things that were said, so you know.
any other public comment? Please state your name, sir.
My name is Steve McKay. First off, I've read a lot of the emails, and I'd like to thank you guys for the statements that you've made. It takes a lot of courage to put together the things that you said after, the emails were released. There was a lot of hurtful, disrespectful things that have been said, and before I read what I wrote, I really wanted to thank you guys from not only myself, but I know probably from a lot of other citizens in Pownal that need you guys to do what you just did. So thank you. I don't speak as eloquently as my fiance, but I'll make this short and sweet. For a few years now, there have been some people behind the scenes trying to pull strings and influence our local government in order to seek and steer in the direction that they saw fit. Whether it be Empower Pownal, whether it be right wing, left wing, whatever you want to call it, it's influencing from behind the scenes. Now, I've been to all the meetings, a lot of the meetings. No four-wheelers, more hiking trails, blah, 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 right? We all go back and forth with all this stuff. That's the stuff that I care about. When I came to Pownal 10 years ago, I wanted to get involved in things. I wanted to raise my kids here. I wanted to make sure that they had a great place to live. So those disrespectful emails released, I'm going to say, go out on a limb here and say the machine is probably broken. But I am a believer that people should not have to work in the shadows to get involved. I am a believer that I am energetic. And if I would have to send emails to the select board on a daily or weekly basis, there's probably something that I should come to these meetings and talk about. I like to address things face to face. The personal attacks are, whether it be on the town workers that have been doing their job for 25 or 30 years, people that try as hard as they can to do the right things, it's got to stop. It's just uncalled for. Believe me, I know I've been called a dishonest veteran. I've been called some other names that I'd rather not talk about. But the emails and the things that people have talked about here are far, far worse than that. So I don't want to change anything. I think that's the whole point of all this. In the past 10 years, I met a bunch of good people in Pownal. And along the way, and we're none of those words that are described in that email. We're not knuckle draggers. We're not, I think somebody even used the word retarded. We're not those things. We're good people that are trying to make a living and trying to
I don't mean to interrupt,
together.
Any of those people here that said that? That's what I would like to know. Because it's not right.
So
if you're involved with those people,
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you introduce yourself, sir?
But
my name is Nathan Rowe.
let-
I don't mean to interrupt him.
You gotta let Steve finish, please.
Yeah.
I'm almost done. So, my recommendation, and I didn't know that it was going to be part of a select board recommendation as well, but anyone that's affiliated with the machine shouldn't hold any decision-making abilities in this town. As the emails say, I don't, and I think I know a lot of other people in Pownal don't want those type of people that have those type of things to say representing me, my family, or my friends.
Hey, they're shitbags.
Hold on. Let him finish his statement.
And
please, no foul language, please.
Sorry.
Let's be disrespectful. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion,
There's no
but I want it kept.
children around, right?
I want it kept respectful. This is
There is.
this is going to be on TV,
Sorry.
my son's in the other room.
so
too.
no foul language, please.
So, I just wanted to go on record to say that I've never sent an email to the select board, and I definitely wouldn't send them daily or weekly, but if I had something to say, I like to come here and tell you guys what I think. So I think that everybody should be transparent like that. To finish, we like to hunt, we like to fish, we like to ride. We especially don't want people telling us what to do, what we should think, or the way that they want us to change our lives. You're entitled to your opinion, but when you start pushing it on us from the shadows, that's when I have a problem. Anyone involved in all those plots and disrespectful name calling should be ashamed of yourself. And in my humble opinion, if you think there are so many things that need to be changed in Pownal, you should probably drag your knuckles across to the Massachusetts or New York state line. I heard those people are looking to have their way of life changed and looking for a group of people to come in and help them.
Anybody else?
This isn't a statement. Can I just ask a question? This isn't a statement.
Okay.
I just like to clarify. I'm new in town. And
What's your name?
Caitlin Randall.
Okay.
I've lived here for many, many years. So I just would like to clarify who exactly are we talking about here? This gentleman here asked a good question.
Right.
Is anyone
Who are we
here?
talking about?
Who are we talking about? Can
These
you?
emails gotta let us know who we're talking about.
Right, I mean, it doesn't seem like anyone in this
The
room.
machine, I wanna know, like,
Well,
let's see the
yeah, but
names
you-
of the
You
machine.
keep talking about this machine, well, not
Ask
the
Jenny.
machine. You keep
She's
talking
the one
about
that named it.
This secret group.
Jenny knows?
Jenny
How
knows.
much
Jenny
the one that
knows.
named
This
it.
secret group. Who wrote the emails?
Jenny.
I didn't say anything about knuckle dragging, or I have never called people names, but I'm not.
So there is a,
Who specifically called people knuckle draggers?
That was Michael Walker.
Okay.
But there's
Well,
among others.
people
No longer works
trying
for
to
the
make
town, is that
this
correct?
machine that just takes over.
Joke.
It's
Fix
not a
elections.
joke.
We have
It's
proof.
not a joke. Read the emails.
proof.
Read the emails. And Michael Slattery was being blind copied executive session information from Michael Walker. Sid, you were involved. I think your last email to Michael Walker was, just so you know, your emails are public knowledge. Like, it's not.
And I said I hadn't said anything of which I was a bit embarrassed.
There's no way you can justify any of it at this point. And
And
if you try to
Jenny,
justify it,
it's
makes you
just-
just as guilty. That's where it's
And she
cut
just
and
flipped
dry.
me off.
Because you keep calling my name out. Brian, Mary,
Actually,
Yes.
I'm the one that called your name. So if you want to stand up and flip me off, I'm,
hold
I'm
on,
right
hold
here.
on, Tiffany. Ms. Stewart, please come forward. Or stand up, please, so we
created-
How we were brought up as
Suggestions that I would ask the board to take under consideration.
Okay.
I had hoped to address this last year when I was on the board, but I stepped down before I had the opportunity. Now that you're entering budget season, I would ask you to consider putting more money in the budget for raises for the road crew and the wastewater facility staff. They're woefully underpaid, as you've recognized, and I would urge the board to work faster to get them up to comparable standards. You've also been working on a personnel policy. In academia, they have what are referred to as essential and non-essential staff. That doesn't mean the jobs and the people are essential versus non-essential. It merely refers to the work being necessary to keep the doors open, so to speak. In our town, that would once again be the road crew and the wastewater staff. You can't have one policy that covers all. My recommendation is to update the essential staff policy once the audit is done to work the way other towns do. Rather than basing it on a 40-hour week, it is based on an 8-hour day for the road crew. Each day starts afresh. Overtime is paid when the road crews go over 8 hours in any given day. I also feel that one should not have to work a full year before earning 2 weeks of vacation. I don't know what it should be, but again, compared to other towns, see what they do. It seems unreasonable to me to not get the vacation time an entire year. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for the suggestions. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Harry?
I just want to say there's a lot of different groups in this town. I try to take and go around and meet with people. I know lately I haven't, but I've sat in on different things, and each group actually has the willfulness to take and try to do something good for this town. For whatever reason, we can't get everybody to work together, and that's the sad thing. But we have a lot of good ideas, and for whatever reason, people don't want to come to the table and, or sandbox, as you say, and work together and take and build us up. Rather, it just seems like there's a constant want to divide, and whenever there's a division, you never get anywhere. And that's what needs to stop.
Can't combine with the shadows.
No. And I was told a long time ago when I ended up winning my seat was not only speak, but make sure you're listening and watching everybody in the room and paying attention. And let me tell you, between the military, what they've taught me, and listening to my elders, that's what I've done and that's what I've seen.
So, I know for me, I try to listen to everybody. I don't always respond because not every email that is sent to me requires a response. If it's just unsolicited input, I take everything into consideration. However, I still have my core beliefs, and I try to do what I think is best for everybody in town. Not everybody is going to get your own way. There needs to be compromise. People need to come together. It's not all or nothing, scorched earth. It can't be. Nothing will get accomplished that way. So people need to come together. You disagree on an issue, You know what? Try to meet in the middle on it. You know what? That's democracy. Nobody's happy. It's a compromise.
We don't need gotcha moments.
Yes. We don't need gotcha moments.
This gotcha.
As far as the language used in the emails by certain individuals, I'm not going to name names. I would just say that certain individuals that came before this board to chastise us in our behavior, how we conducted ourselves, and defending individuals who they knew were using derogatory language about private citizens from a town email. Town email makes it public knowledge. And then didn't say anything, then chastised us for our statement about why they were terminated. For that, this board, I would personally, I would demand an apology. Because those individuals knew, pardon my language, knew damn well what was going on and what was being said. And to not say anything. And to not only not say anything, but to defend the person.
And to put it on us when we couldn't say anything, and it was really up to the other individual to come forward with the information, to
Correct.
have it go public.
Or allow it.
Or allow it.
Correct.
But we got chastised because
So Ellen
we
had
were
her hand
supposed
up.
to be...
Hold on. Ellen had her hand up.
I would just like to say, we were all, every town employee, elected official was required to take a class on respect in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
If you read that list, a lot of the people that have done these emails did not do it, and some of them that did take the class. We were told we are employees, because we get a W-2, we're to be there. Well, I was there. A lot of us were there, but not everybody. Obviously, people didn't take that class very seriously, because a lot of this happened after the class.
Correct.
Some of it before the class, and the person pushing that issue, who would not release the public document so that I could have it in a folder for the non-release of public record, is one of the biggest offenders of that. That's all I have to say. We paid for a class. We did get the money back in a scholarship. But the town of Pownal made us all go to this class, and we're all supposed to work together.
That's the goal.
And that's the goal, but that's not what's happening. And a lot of the people that did not attend that class maybe should
That's
go
why
to
we
one.
asked them to do it.
And, you know, as a select board and as an individual, as the chair, I have tried to instruct numerous times, and every one of you that I've spoken to can attest to this, that we need to work together. We need to communicate. We need to respect each other. I've repeatedly said that over and over and over in open meeting, in private meetings with individuals, as groups, when there's been disputes. I couldn't be more clear about it. Just because you hate each other does not mean that gives you the right to just try to tear each other down. I don't care what side you're on, Democrat, Republican, left, right, center, black, white, blue, pink, purple. I don't care. We are here for the benefit of all of Pownal, for the taxpayers. Period. I am extremely upset, and I'm doing my best to maintain my temper on this, people. I really am. But the childish behavior needs to stop. From both sides. I'm not going to lie. It's from both sides. It needs to stop. I get it. Everybody's upset. I'm upset. But we need, you know what? Put it down. Let's try to come together and move forward. There's issues that are facing this town that we need to address. I would like to see economic development. I would like to see zoning restructuring. I would like to see a rewrite of our town plan to try to spur more economic development. Those are the things I would like to see. That's my personal opinion. That's just one man's opinion. I don't push for my personal opinion. I listen to what people have to say. And that's what I go by, is what people have to say. All right, I'm off my soapbox. Fred?
I just wanted to put it on a personal level for Mr. Smithers. And I'm not attacking you, Sid. I want to start by telling you that I've worked with you for a couple of years now. Since I first met you 3 years ago. And I didn't know you then. I got to know you a little bit working with you. And over that time, I started really developing a good deal of respect for you. And I just, I was shocked and hurt, personally hurt, when I read a Front Porch Forum post from you calling this new select board, the whole select board, cowards, cowardly acts. And you repeated that. You repeated that in the famous machine email that we talked about, right? You've lost some of my respect, Sid, and it really bothers me to have to say that to you. You know, I'd like to see things turn around. I'd like to be able to respect you because I think you're smart and I think you're really not a bad guy. But that type of behavior, calling these guys, they were in a rough situation. They had a situation they had to deal with, and having it referred to as cowardly. That really bothers me, and it still bothers me. That's why I am as mad now as I was 3 or 4 years ago when the Empower Pownal thing, when this whole thing started. I was really mad. And over the years, by working with you guys, I started like coming down a little bit and trying to find ways where I could work with you guys. And then, start reading stuff like that. You're mad at them because it was somebody that you cared about, whose job was on the hot seat, and they may have done something that you wouldn't have done, so they get to be called cowards. You say you haven't said anything that bothers you or that shames you. Well, I just want you to know that bothers me. I'm a little bit ashamed of you. I still respect you and I like you. But I don't want to read stuff like that. I don't want to see these guys threatened. These guys did a good job, a rough job. They've had 1 year of experience in this job, learning as they go. It's been tough for them. It's been tough for all of us. I ran directly against Liz for select board. I think Liz is doing a great job. I don't think I want to sit back and see her slandered or called a coward or criticized for the work that she's been trying to do. It's been rough. It's been a rough time for everybody in this town. And I could just keep rambling, but I'm going to shut up right there.
Thanks, Fred.
So,
I'm Joanne Prouty. I've been here for 45 years. I worked at the school system for years when my kids were going to school. I had wonderful people working with me. We did marvelous things. Playground, all sorts of things. And it's so sad to sit here and listen to people. It sounds like our country, how bad our country is. The Democrats, the Republicans, they can't seem to say anything decent or anything nice to each other. And it's really sad, and that's hard to work that way. And as far as emails, I would say we accept no emails. If you want to talk to us, you come to our office. We'd be glad to talk to you. I wouldn't look at emails. I don't do emails. You can probably tell that. Emails is not my line. That's for sure.
Some people, that's how they continue.
That's all because they can't bring themselves to come face to face with people, and that's sad.
It can be very intimidating to come before the select board. And that was one of the things that I personally tried to address early on. Was I tried to create I wanted to foster an environment where people felt welcome to come before the select board. So I didn't stand on procedure and holding people to time limits and being so structured, because I wanted, from personal experience coming before the select board numerous times, it can be downright intimidating, and I was trying to eliminate it. Sometimes I feel like that was weaponized against us and monopolized, where individuals gave a half-hour speech. But you take the good with the bad. I want to hear what people have to say.
Yeah. And it's
But
hard.
at the end of the day, we still need to come together. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. You as American citizens, you are entitled. If you want to organize politically, God bless you. I salute you, and please do so. If you have an issue that you want to see addressed by the town, come before us.
Yes.
Please don't try to engage in backdoor dealing and going behind the scenes. Come to us. You know what? Like I said, I have my own personal beliefs, but I listen to everybody. And you know what? I'll support things I might not necessarily agree with. If I think it's for the benefit of the town, I'm for it.
If they show us good facts.
Yeah. Show me the facts.
Yeah, see what they say. They might have some good ideas, and then you've got to say, you know what? I'm so glad you brought that to me.
Mm-hmm.
I
You
think
know?
I think the Recreation Task Force, I think they have done wonderful projects for the town, and I think they have great ideas. Trying to open hiking trails. That was one of the things I campaigned on, was trying to get the Strobridge Recreation, the mountain, opened up. And we've made progress toward that.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to recreation.
Yeah.
But I'm not opposed to economic development either. I would like to see more businesses move into town. You know, I think all of us want to see more job opportunities.
Jobs and help offset the tax
We
base.
might all disagree on how to go about doing that, but let's have the discussions. Let's civil discussions. If you wanna have a private conversation in private, and you wanna say whatever you wanna say about a private citizen, that's your business. Just remember, anything electronic, you can't erase it. So what's said in the heat of the moment in an email or a text message, it's out there forever in cyberspace. It's out there forever. That's what they warn kids nowadays with cyberbullying. You say it online, it's there forever. It's recorded someplace. So we all say stuff in the heat of the moment and in private that we might regret 20 minutes later. And that's okay. We're human beings. It's going to happen. You need to just pick yourself up, cool off, have a stiff drink if need be.
And
But we need to come together.
Respect.
Yes.
Yeah,
Each
we need to
other.
have respect.
Right.
Even if you don't respect somebody's beliefs, you have to respect them as a human being.
Brian?
Yes.
Okay, can I speak?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. I just want to remind everybody that communication styles come in many forms, and we all have our own communication style. In seeing we're talking about respect, we need to respect each person's communication style. Not everybody's going to conform to how you speak or how somebody else speaks or how questions are asked. We all have our own personal styles. No style is right, no style is wrong. It's individualized. Now, there seems to be a lot of assumptions and content insinuation regarding my specific emails. So, in the spirit of transparency, if anybody would like to come and speak to me about any of my publicly posted emails, I will make myself available this Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. in the town office. You just have to bring the emails with you, and I will pull them up on my computer, and we can talk about the full context of the email. And I also want to remind everybody that there's many modalities for communication. So there's many sides, many perspectives. And one modality doesn't mean that that's the entire discussion. And if it's assumed that that's the entirety of the discussion, then that's just simply reckless. So an email is only one piece of a discussion. That's all I wanted to say.
What?
That was the best deflection tactic ever.
Please, let's be respectful, everybody.
John and Ellen.
John and
John? Oh, I'm
Go ahead, John.
sorry, John. You're behind. Sorry.
Saw his hand
John
first.
Shade. I just wanted to say, first off, thank you to the board. You deserve a round of applause for your support for our town. Next thing I wanted to say was, the fact is, I don't know what the town, this board is gonna do about this stuff. Hopefully it's a good thing for the town, that's what we're all looking for. It's gonna be very hard to work on these other boards. I'm on 3 boards in this town, and unfortunately, most of the complaints that I've seen in the emails were directed at me on those boards, and how to get me off those boards. So that's gonna be a tough one. I'm willing to keep working. I'm gonna try to do the best I can for this town, so I'll be on each one of them meetings, and I'll keep trying to do my best. But I still need to see something done. As a town citizen, this is what I'm saying to you. I'm hoping that this board can do something about the stuff that's been happening, as does everybody else here. Going forward, we're gonna try to work together. Hopefully we can make this town work together that way, and we can all come together and have things work for every citizen, or a good majority of them. And I just want to say, last thing, thank you to everybody that has come in here tonight to support all of this. This is a good start to get everything going back together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ellen?
All I have to say is if your way to communicate by email is to try to publicly humiliate someone, shame on you, Marlena. Because it is not appropriate. And that email you cannot defend because it is in writing. And that is cause, you have opened up a cause for people in the town of Pownal, your employees, have cases against people because of these emails. They have a right to move forward with all the name calling, the bullying, the harassment, everything that has happened. It is not acceptable anymore by law. And it is in writing now. It is not okay. You do not write that stuff. So if that's the way that anybody in this room wants to communicate and say that you are willing to publicly humiliate someone, then maybe you shouldn't send that email. That's all I have to say.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. State your name, please.
I'm Donna Lozon.
Can you speak up? I don't know if the
Want me to speak louder or come
well, or come closer to the microphone. Sometimes I have trouble picking up people that are soft-spoken.
So I'm glad that you guys all have brought this to light, and unfortunately, unless you have Facebook or know someone with Facebook, some people aren't even aware in our town that this has been going on. I met someone the other day at Stewart's who didn't know about any of this stuff because they don't have Facebook. But I want the community and the public at large to know exactly the type of language and behavior that did infiltrate our local government, and offer my thoughts as a private citizen. In one email, the former town administrator writes to the current chair of the Economic Development Committee, quote, "Here is military doctrine direct from the Naval War College, and it applies in large part to these situations in life and is a good guide to our actions," end quote. Here's the doctrine he shares. Honor and understand the enemy intimately. Know the history, background, and resources your enemy uses. Neutralize it. Understand the terrain, the people, the history, and the culture. Have an overwhelming force of infantry with a flawless supply system. Protect your flanks. Have flawless communication and coordination. And then he puts in parentheses, Sun Tzu in 500 BC used banners, gongs, and whistles to coordinate troop movements. He kicked the crap out of everyone he went up against. End parentheses. We use email. Have more passion and commitment than your enemy. Violent execution immediately is better than delay for the sake of developing a plan. My question is, who makes up the hour described in this email? Is it the same as those who want a machine because the fix is to win elections? Honor and understand the enemy. Who is the enemy? Know the history, background, and resources your enemy uses and neutralize it? I suppose we've seen examples of this neutralizing. A select board member, former TA, and the chair of the EDC agree not to allow an interested citizen to participate in the EDC because they viewed them as, quote, against their mission. Whose mission? What mission? It seems to be unclear to me. Perhaps another example of neutralizing was attempting to go after the business of a citizen who spoke an opposing opinion at an EDC meeting. Perhaps another example was going after the American Legion when it was rented by a private citizen to host a meet and greet. Additionally, writing repeatedly to have the ATV conversation and information stricken from the website also gives an appearance of this, quote, neutralizing. The list goes on and on. Have an overwhelming force of infantry with a flawless supply system. I suppose the infantry exposed in these emails is quite clear. Perhaps this is why the same names are always at the ready with a steady stream of coordinated correspondence to the select board, paper, front porch forum, and social media. I suspect this is why the exporting of citizen emails happened in the first place. Based upon the number of emails written to town officials by at least one justice of the peace, it is clear the board was overwhelmed, all right. Overwhelmed with someone's incessant need for attention, control, and acknowledgement, all at the expense and delay of official town business. Protect your flanks. Protect who? From what? Transparency, inclusion, discussion. Have flawless communication and coordination. We use email. Yes, it appears you did use email, frequently. But instead of it being flawless, it was crude, conspiring, and derogatory. Violent execution immediately is better than delay for the sake of developing a plan. Violence? Execution? People feel that this is acceptable language when discussing our town. What plan are we talking about? The plan to remove select board members the machine has deemed cowardly? Was the plan part of an email titled, "He needs to be stopped"? Was the plan to CC or BCC planning commission members for backup? Was the plan to use and abuse our public town email to try and fabricate narratives to remove our treasurer, our secretary, and our town clerk? Whose plan is all of this anyway? If the writers and recipients of these emails are justified and proud of their so-called plan, they should at least admit to it. For it certainly was not the plan of at least these members of the select board, nor does it appear to be the plan of everyday Pownal residents. This disruption in Pownal town government is not the fault of citizens. It is the result of a culture of disrespect among some who were entrusted with power in town. It is the result of selfishness and a discriminatory belief that the hardworking locals are less than those of wealth and privilege. There was a complete disregard for the humanity, dignity, and decency of those who did not fall in line. Is it appropriate for those in public office to be using town time and town resources to trash enemy citizens? Is it possible that this pervasive attitude and sabotage could be the cause of the divide that has plagued this town for years? We, the citizens of Pownal, deserve to know who exactly the enemy is. I can tell you the words taken directly from some of these officials and their partners that were used to describe the apparent enemies in Pownal. Provincial, uneducated, unsophisticated, ignorant, fearmongers, paranoid delusional, haters, conspiracy theorists, troublemakers, awful, slumlord, don't know shit, need to get jobs, idiots, mole, silly, cyberbully, abominable, lurkers, Kool-Aid drinkers, liars, micromanagers, bullies, Lozon on crack, divisive, incompetent, cowardly, misguided, dangerous, scary, sexist, Hitler, insubordinate, ridiculous, dysfunctional, couldn't even organize a 2-car funeral, not admired as fellow humans, inbred, knuckle-dragging, drooling, smelly, illiterate morons, and even the word retarded. To those who use these descriptions, you repulse me. In my opinion, these folks think referring to the people of Pownal as such names props them up and makes them superior. I can assure you, it does not. It has only exposed their bigotry. It's clear these individuals have a problem with many and coordinated with pontification to oust those that are unlike them. If they really think so many people in Pownal are so beneath them, why are they here? These individuals have portrayed their schemes not as solutions to save us from ourselves, but to serve their own self-interest. Let me be really clear. I don't believe Pownal wants or needs that type of humanitarianism. From my standpoint, the most important part of that military doctrine shared by the former TA was in fact the one that ultimately resulted in where we are tonight. Understanding the terrain, the people, history, and culture. Those involved in this corruption underestimated the people of Pownal. In that aspect of the doctrine, the machine has failed miserably. As a resident, I do have some requests or suggestions. I ask that members of the Select Board consult with Council and state entities regarding the contents of the public emails and their impact on town business and render corrective action immediately. The town cannot enable officials to weave in and out of private citizen and public official in either their actions or words when it suits them. There is now an immediate question as to whether those town officials involved would treat citizens they view as enemies with their bias while working in their official roles in town. We simply can't have that type of representation. I ask that going forward, all town business with any town board or committee require the use of an official town email. This way, we, the public, can be assured that upon request, we can view how our town government officials operate, and most importantly, how they speak in regards to those they are supposed to represent. I have recently read by one person that if they were on the board, they would refuse to use email, and that type of statement is exactly why it needs to be mandatory. And so here we are, thousands of town emails later, with none of the contributors taking responsibility and accountability of this assault on our town. There is no doubt that I am not alone in my disgust about these emails. But I believe there are members of the select board that care enough about the town that will make it their duty to end this nightmare and go forward, doing what's best for all of the people in Pownal in an inclusive, respectful, and transparent way. I am hopeful that we can move beyond this dark cloud brought over us by a select few, and Pownal can see some brighter days.
I think that's very nice.
Thank you, Ms. Lozon.
Thank you.
Any other public comments?
My name is Laura, and I'm the secretary of Pownal Youth Baseball, and I just have a question, trying to understand things, because we haven't had this situation before. Each year, invitation goes out to ask organizations who, if they wish to be on the ballot. This year, not quite sure. Seems this year we're not sure what happened, but is the time frame always that short, 14 days to return that?
No, it's almost the same date every year.
Okay, so the date that I'm seeing on the letter that it was mailed to us was November 30th with the return date of December 14th.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 14 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my question then is, considering what I've read in the paper that we've had questions about mail, do you think that's an accurate time frame?
I had no are you talking specifically about the Pownal Youth ballot article?
Yes,
request?
because we would like to put it on there, but now we're past the due date, but we did not get it because, we don't hold meetings every month. When our season kind of ends, we start up again in January, but I'm asking in general, if in the past, the reason for some things not being done that's been given according in the paper was that there's been issues with mail. Would mailing something out on the 30th with the return date of a 14th, which is 14 days, be
Significant amount of time.
exactly? If the issue that has been brought up, and I'm just saying what I've read in the paper, so that's what I'm asking. If we're saying we've had problems with mail, and you mailed something out on the 13th with the return date of the 14th, do you think that time frame needs to be longer if we've said in the past we've had issues with mail?
Normally, under such circumstances, an organization would check with the town office to see, in fact, that their ballot budget information had been received and would require a confirmation.
Okay.
And there has been nothing.
Okay, that's why I'm here to ask
no
about.
inquiry, no nothing.
Okay.
It is not my responsibility. It is the board's responsibility. It is their policy.
Okay, that's question number one. Question number two I had for the board too was that we last year voted to have money sent out to us, and it was approved by the board.
Mm-hmm.
As of December 30th, were those checks mailed? Because we had not received ours.
Those checks just went out on Friday.
Thank you.
They just read the warrant.
Okay.
I
I'm
also
sorry, I
let
was
the
late.
other person that is involved with Little League Baseball with you, Crystal. She knew that because she was here and
Okay, I
approved
did
the
not know.
warrants.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had also spoken to her in regards to the letter that is mailed out for you guys to submit requesting money. We did have a discussion in here. She did know, and she stated that you guys don't check your post office very often because you don't.
Because I knew about the one, but I'm just in question of the 14-day, but
she
when I
was
looked
told
at bank
that they had been
statements,
sent out.
Nope, I didn't. Thank you. Appreciate that. As long as we know, because we're trying to close out our books, and I'm trying to
Yep, you should
get
have
that.
the check, I would say, what's today, Monday? Probably by tomorrow if it's not in your box already
Great,
today.
just so that we can. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment?
Hey, Brian, can we get clarification on that whole ballot article thing? So that's a board responsibility?
No, if a nonprofit fails to submit their ballot article request by the time that we need it for our budget preparation, it is a policy of the board that that nonprofit is not on the ballot that year, that they must repetition the board, or if they increase their budget amount. Normally, if one of the nonprofits, like I stated, if they're late in returning, they will call the office and say, I'm sorry, it's coming. We heard nothing. Auditor Dave Adams alerted me that there were some reports missing from some of the nonprofits and that the Pownal youth had nothing submitted whatsoever. And this was just, I believe, on the 10th. There have been nonprofits in the past who failed to submit any budget material at all, and they were not on Pownal's budget election ballot.
Okay, is there a list that the board's provided of all these nonprofits that would normally request to be on the ballot? And then what's the follow-up when we don't hear anything? What's the timeline for follow-up? Because this is the first time as a board member I'm hearing about any of this.
It's not our job to follow up with them. It's their job to send the application forward.
Right, I understand that, Harry, but we've also been told on numerous occasions that there's problems with the mail, quote-unquote, in Pownal.
Well, yes, and in Bennington, but that's another subject. They've actually changed their ways.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Going once, going twice. Moving on to mail. All right. So, in consideration of a gentleman here, Eric Hatch. Sorry to make you wait, sir. So, this is in regards to the Communications Union District.
Yes.
You have a presentation for us, or you want to speak to us?
Yes.
Okay, so please introduce yourself and have at it.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. My name is Eric Hatch. I live in Bennington, and for the past couple months, I've been working with a task force that has the aim of establishing a Communications Union District, a CUD. And the goal of the CUD, which would be called the Southern Vermont Communications Union District, is to provide universal high-speed fiber optic internet service to everyone that lives in that district. So we are going around to every town in Bennington County, and we may include folks in Deerfield Valley to form a CUD. Now, a Communications Union District is actually set up as a municipality, like a water district. And its nonprofit mission is to, like I said, to provide internet service over fiber optic. So the fiber optic is really the technology of the present and the future. It's faster than cable, and it's faster than DSL and certainly dial-up. But it's expensive, and that's why we don't have it. The telecoms and the Comcasts of the world aren't going to come to our rural towns and do it in Vermont. And so a model has been created, and the expansion of the Broadband Bill, Act 79, from a few years ago, and out of all of that was the CUD. So the fiber optic, as you may know or not, is the thin wire that actually transmits the data via light. So it's extremely fast and reliable. The other part about this is the universal coverage piece. So the mission of the district, if Pownal would join, is to get everyone covered. So regardless of how far you live out from the town center or from the concentration of folks or the telephone hubs, the Union District, the CUD, would work to lay this fiber out to your house, your farm, your business, small or large, public institutions, and that's called the last mile, and that would be to give you that high-speed internet. And that's really basic infrastructure nowadays for businesses that want to do stuff online, or who knows what tech businesses and services will grow out of that. So as I said, it's very expensive. So where does the money come from? I'll start off by saying where it does not come from, because this is a really important fact. It doesn't come from the town. In statute, state statute, there is a prohibition against using taxpayer money into the CUD. So the CUD is funded initially through grants, the state and their federal government grants through USDA. There's called a big grant from the state, which helps to provide the startup costs, which are a lot, but those costs are borne by the CUD. There might be loans to the CUD that the CUD itself would take out, or it could be private investment as well. So that's really just to get it off the ground. And then long term, the CUD is self-funding. So it sells the service to everyone who wants to sign up for it. And so instead of, for example, sending your internet costs, monthly bill to Comcast, you would send it to the CUD. So it really kind of stays local in that regard. So it would be self-financing. So there is no risk, financial risk to the town to say that they would join up in the CUD.
There's no initial cost to the town?
No, there isn't. And you can't contribute to this to the CUD.
Has this started anywhere else within the state?
Yes, it has. And in Orange and Windsor counties, they already have this thing set up. They were the pioneers in this. They learned all the good and the bad about how to organize in this way. And really out of that model came the CUD. And they have 27 towns in their CUD. Next door, Windham County is looking to start this up as well. So there are a lot of other regions in Vermont. The Northeast Kingdom has in Craftsbury, Greensboro, Albany area. They're getting together to do a CUD, and some other towns that I'm sure I'm going to forget. But so what we wanted to do is get everyone in every town in Bennington County to say that they would like to opt into this CUD. Like I said, it's really the only path forward to get this because of the crazy laws that are set up for internet around and the costs that come up. So the only responsibility of the town is to, you have to present this to the citizenry to vote to join. It has to be up to the town's folks to join. And I'm not sure if hearing that last conversation, if I've missed the deadline to get on the ballot in March or not. But what we're trying to get from the other towns is a vote in town meeting day, either on the floor vote or in the ballot to say, does the town of Pownal wish to join the Southern Vermont Communications Union District as governed under Title 30, Chapter 82. And that's the only language that's on to be voted on. And if they do, they assign, assuming a yes vote, the town select board would assign a representative and an alternate to the CUD board. So every town would have their delegate on there to make sure that their town's interests and feedback channels to the board and town's groups and community groups is made.
It's a Title 30, Chapter 82?
Yeah, and I have that here. I can pass that out. It's, I may have said that backwards.
How,
Title 30, Chapter 82.
Yeah.
Can I have one of those?
Yep.
How does the CDU gauge the number of end users?
Yeah, sorry, that's the last one. Yes, it does. So, excellent.
Thanks, sir.
Exactly. So there are many steps to get this going, and it's a multi-year process, as you can imagine, because it's a lot of work. And this is one of them, just to introduce myself and the task force and what the CUD is and what it's all about. The next step would be to have the vote by the town's people. If I have missed that, or the task force has missed that cutoff, then after the CUD is formed, the select board can vote to join, and then the CUD can vote to accept the town. But we want Pownal and every town to come in at the beginning so that they're represented in the core group. So after that CUD is formed, the next step is to do a feasibility study. So you apply for a grant through the state. They're making several large grants to pay for a consultant to come in that says this is how the fiber network would actually look like in the district and how it should be laid out and whether it can go forward. If they vote, if that is determined feasible, and really what determines whether it's feasible is if you get an average concentration per mile throughout the district of a certain number per mile. And that's why we have to group up as a town at the town level, because if you just look at it in one particular area, you may have that and then that concentration, but if you've got, a sparsely populated section of town, they'll never get incorporated. So that's why we have to do it as a larger market segment.
Well, that's why I asked, because when my parents first moved down here in 73 or 74, the cable company was supposed to be coming down here shortly after, within a year or two. It never happened until 1986.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have the users to feel to get their return.
They have a very different profit model than the CUD is, and the CUD wants to go that extra to every house that wants to have it, because we have folks in Sandgate that DSL, AT&T, or whatever, they're not even returning the calls. They won't fix things, and it takes forever, and it's just really bad service all around. I think that's for sure. So once we do the feasibility study, then it's a business plan to see how the numbers actually come together. And then assuming we make that work, then literally the next steps are the request for proposals that we would send out, and then the fundraising as well through the grants. There is a lot of money out there, I've learned, from different organizations for broadband in rural areas. The USDA surprisingly has a lot of that money, and then there are grants in the state as well, and there might be loans. One of the things that we're learning about CUDs and what EC Fiber, which is the group in Windsor and Orange counties, had to do is be really creative in their financing, and they did different things, but they basically had to come up with it themselves, the CUD. Because what they do is hire an operations company that runs the internet service provider, the people who know how to do all the networks and stuff, and the construction companies that actually string the fiber and, if necessary, dig the trenches to lay it underground. Most of our area in this part of Vermont, of course, all of Vermont, is going to be over the telephone poles. And so we would work with Green Mountain Power to have them string it up.
You don't already have an agreement set up?
No. Nope.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
When you talk about a concentration of people, are you talking about, is this, in this area you have both Comcast and then you have whole areas, sections of Pownal that are not even covered by the internet?
Right. Correct.
Are you talking about just that kind of a concentration, or do you deal with a town that has sort of multiple use, if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what the feasibility study will look at is, won't look at Pownal specifically, it was going to look at everyone who's voted to be in that district. So it will cover places that have Comcast. Like I have Comcast in Bennington, but I certainly will switch over to the Communications Union District. But I'm in the center of Bennington, so I'm helping with the concentration overall. And that's why you need to go so large, 20 odd towns.
So it's not just looking at those areas of Bennington County that are not covered. It's looking at the entire county.
It's the entire county.
Okay, and does that help bring jobs into towns?
Well, we see it as an economic development piece, because in an equity piece, because if you live outside of town, you don't get the service of Comcast or Xfinity or whatever. So we want to do that and provide all of that.
Yeah.
And essentially compete with Comcast and have the money stay in the region rather than, off somewhere else. So, yeah.
There's a Rosemary.
Yes. Maybe the last statement answered the question. Is this simply providing an additional option for services than we already have?
It would,
And then the hope is that your service would invite other people to leave one service and choose yours?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Effectively, yes. And what we've found, what we've heard in our meetings is that groups that are creating the CUD actually improves the service level of the existing provider because they see some competition finally. They've never had that. So anyway, that is really what I wanted to say. And I know Linda was helpful in getting me here tonight, and I know I do need to get at some point on the agenda formally and see if I can get on the CUD question can get on the ballot or after the election town meeting day. But what I have handed out are a few things, and my name and email is up there if there are any questions in the meantime. But the first, and I'll leave a couple copies here for folks who want to take a look.
Yep. Sorry, I have to leave.
The first page is just kind of a rehash of what I've talked about. The second page is a blurb from Shaftesbury when they were going through this same exact exercise. Third page is the members of the task force. It's kind of a stale report. And I would want to add that if anyone wants to join the task force, well, we would love to have anybody participate as much as you want because it is a volunteer organization and it will always remain a volunteer organization. The fourth set is the existing it's called ValleyNet or EC Fiber. That's the one in Windsor and Orange County that created the model for all of this. And it kind of just gives some facts in there. But they have 24 towns that have universal coverage and people have high-speed internet today because of that. And then the last piece in that handout is the actual statute that outlines how the CUD is structured and governed and some of the rules and regulations around that. And the last thing that I'll leave with mention is that in terms of risks, the one that we talk about is the risk of not joining early in the CUD.
Say something to you for a second. I'm just very sorry to interrupt. They just, three guys out there who just said something unbelievable to my sister and people that are walking down the road. I just want to make that clear to you. I'm really, really rude language. Very upsetting. You can hear it. So I just want to say that.
Ellen, see if we need a constable.
Listen, go outside. Red now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, that's not right. I mean, that's just really wrong.
They're swearing at us, they're calling us names.
I mean, it's terrible.
That's not right.
That's kind of scary.
Let's follow through.
All right. Harry, you want to call Joel and see if Joel will come down?
Yeah.
Let's get the sheriffs over here.
I think you better.
You know what number? I don't know if I got it in here off the top of my head.
All right. I'll stop there.
All right.
Eric.
Leave the another door.
For,
Maybe out that
for you, from the board, the deadline for ballots, is it only ballots that are requesting money?
This is
or anything to be
this
put
is
on
not
the-
asking for money. The cutoff is January 16th.
January
They're
16th.
just asking for
A ballot recommendation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Recommendation.
All right. So today is the
13th.
3 days. We have 10 towns that have gone forward with this, so we're hoping get everyone in time. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I have one other question.
Yes.
With your grants that, I was trying to skim through this real quick. Sometimes with grants or those type of items, the town has to do matches. So is there,
That's a great question. There could be, depends on what the grant is.
I just want to be full open to the taxpayers as far as getting involved. I mean, competition is awesome because anytime there's competition, then it obviously will make people sharpen their pencil when they send out bills.
Yeah.
So.
There could be if that's the grant that the CUD voted to go forward with, but the financing piece is all part of the business plan and the feasibility study to see how much it's going to take to do that, and to see what the landscape is for money out there. The USDA just announced $500 million for rural development just a couple of weeks ago, on top of another huge chunk from last year. So it's kind of shifting, but I don't know. I can't answer. It could be, but we wouldn't want that, and it would have to clear that statutory agreement where you can't use taxpayer money.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because you know your main spiel is basically the end use takes the cost.
Yes.
Besides the grants and the USDA stuff. So I just want us to be full disclosure to all our people out there what we're asking them.
And some of the other grants that we've seen is there have to be some certain studies have been done in the town to see, like surveys of do people want internet service or not, and things like that. So we might come to the town and ask for that if they have that information, but there's no authority for us to request it, certainly.
Do you have something to add, Mike?
Nope. Good.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric.
I don't have his contact in my
Kind of thing at this point, you maybe end up cutting
Short supply.
the sheriff be here for our meetings from now on.
Well,
All right.
This was just a clear
Thank you.
Thank you.
event.
All right, moving on.
Okay.
something.
Let's see, that was that. All right, so we have a letter from the Department of Taxes for equalization study results. It's just, you guys read it, just it's for information. Bennington County Regional Commission. Just that they sent a draft resolution in regards to legalization of recreational marijuana.
Yes.
I heard something over there.
All right, so, and a letter from a citizen about a proposed junk ordinance, but we're not addressing that tonight. But we'll enter that in. Bennington County Regional Commission agenda, Thursday, January 16th at 5:30 p.m. Loose Cannon Cafe, 139 Main Street, Bennington. Meeting will begin with refreshments at 5:30. Agenda items beginning at 6. Approval of minutes. Deerfield River Tactical Basin Plane. Watershed Coordinator Marie Caduto. Just their agenda. All right, so we have a report from Bennington County Sheriff's Office with a list of all their tickets, how many written warnings, property checks. So, Linda, you see that this gets scanned over and sent to Jen to post on our website. And a couple of letters from citizens to the select board. Okay, so that's it for mail. Hold on, should I give you the right one? Yep, there it is. Thank you. All right, moving on to old business. Sorry.
We kind of got going there because we got disrupted. On the CUD, I'd like to ask the whole board, and if we could post this on the website, so they can make a decision there next, or are we gonna meet, or we gotta do it this week, don't we? For that to be on the, today, for that to be on the ballot. Yeah, because tomorrow's the end day, right?
16.
Oh, the 16th,
I think it's Thursday.
Thursday. So can we do it on Thursday legally? Okay.
Okay.
So for all of us to go over this information, and so we can
When we meet on Thursday.
meet on Thursday and state whether or not we're gonna add it to the ballot article.
Okay.
Before we get.
All right. Linda, will you ensure that gets placed on the ballot? Or the agenda, please?
Agenda and on the town website, so if any of the citizens have any questions, they can look at it also, please.
Okay. All right. Moving on to health officer. Mr. Haggerty, would you join us, please?
I will.
Are you still there, Marlena?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so, do you have any need to call for a meeting of the Board of Health?
I do. And I would actually like to set up a meeting with the Board of Health the second Thursday of every month from 6 to 7. But if that's the time you meet with the transfer station, then I'd like to change it to the following Thursday.
We don't have a standing meeting with the transfer station.
You don't have a standing.
That was just a budgetary thing.
Okay, I'd like to have a standing meeting with the select board.
On what Thursdays?
The second Thursday from 6 to 7. And then that way we only have to warn it the one time. It'll be a standing meeting. And if we don't need to do it, we can
cancel it.
Okay.
Sounds good.
And then you wanted us to authorize the use of the sheriff's department?
Yes, and I went, spoke with the sheriff's department. We have a standing account with them. I just wanted to reiterate that cost is going to be more than normally used, because the process is that every correspondence, when you're issuing orders, has to be served by a sheriff. So there's going to be a cost to that, and then
So that's above and beyond just going and knocking on the door at your first couple of times.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I can actually do the initial service, but then once the health board gets together and determines that there's an order to be in place, or that we're going to do a date on a hearing, then that notice from that point on has to go through the civil process. So
Yeah, we know that's above and beyond our normal contract.
Yep.
Hey, Leo,
yes,
is there any way that you can get like an estimate as to what it could potentially cost, seeing we're in budget process, so that we could plan for it?
when I did my budget, I actually bumped my budget up a little bit more than usual. However, I believe the service fee, I believe, is $75 per service.
Per issuance?
Yes.
Per issuance, yes.
Is there any historical data you were able to look at from Mr. Gilbert to kind of get an idea as to how many issuances he had per year by any chance?
Very little.
Yeah, there's very little data on that.
Okay.
And with the way that the new legislation is and everything changing, we're more apt to be doing more service now than in the past.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, let's just make sure that we get that in the budget.
The other thing on my note was the phone, and I'd like to make a suggestion that I be allowed to use Mr. Walker's old phone, seeing as how the town is paying for it anyways, and it's just sitting not being used, and then in the interim, and that way it's, you know, at least it's being used. You're not paying for something that's sitting here, because you're
Didn't
still.
we authorize that at the last meeting?
No.
We didn't authorize, we were
We talked
discussing
about
it.
it.
And in the last meeting, I believe I wasn't here, but I watched on Cat TV, and I believe you authorized Linda to look into plans and so forth, and to get me a phone. However, that hasn't come to fruition yet, and Mr. Walker's phone, I believe, is sitting somewhere here in the building.
It's in the office, yes.
So,
if
We just authorize.
yeah, make a motion to authorize Leo to utilize the president.
TA's former cell phone?
Yes.
All right. I'll second that. So we have a motion and a second to authorize Leo Haggerty to use the TA's old cell phone, which is currently still being paid for and active, for use in his health officer duties. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. Congratulations, you got a phone.
Thank you.
Come in and see Linda tomorrow. Is
Yeah.
that all right?
Yeah.
And that's all I have. Thank
If-
you very
If you will
much.
send an email to Jen Holly to have the email, the number updated to your
Yes, I
position
will.
on the website.
Yes, I will.
Did you ever get a code for here yet?
I did. I actually even have an email now.
Okay. See, because the guy never replied to me, so obviously he got it. I gave him your information, but he never.
Yes, I ended up getting the code. I have a key.
My code doesn't work here anymore.
Yeah,
Okay.
unfortunately, when they updated mine, it deleted mine.
Well,
I can't.
I wonder if you're the wrong Michael.
Could be.
My code worked.
It did up
Yes,
until that.
initially my code worked.
Okay.
Now when I go the other night, when we left here, I went to punch my code in, and it wouldn't work.
Okay.
I bet you they deleted the wrong Michael.
Not good.
All right, so.
I'm trying to forward your information.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, so.
Call him again.
All right, so do we need to make a motion for the use of Mr. Haggerty to utilize the sheriff's department?
I think that's just a regular, as needed.
It's as needed.
It's as needed through the board, because we're gonna meet as the Board of Health anyways,
Okay.
for them actions to go through, so I would think that that's just a standard operational.
All right, sounds good. All right, so fiscal year 19 external audit. So what do we have for updates?
It was my understanding that they're just looking for who they can talk to, right?
Look in your pack for the email. From Timothy Doyle, January 3rd.
Was that an email to the board, Linda?
Actually, it was an email to me.
And did you forward it to the board?
I believe I forwarded it to the chairperson who asked for this to be on the agenda.
Yeah, we did.
Hey, can somebody forward it to me, please?
I could do that for you.
I think Brian's doing it right now. Yes, no.
Well, I'm gonna try to.
Brian's looking for it at the moment.
So they just want to know who they can discuss this with. They need to determine one point person.
So they received an email from a select person prescribing methods and specific procedures that our audit must follow that were not part of the RFP or proposal and may not be required as part of your audit. We need to speak with them about this before accepting the engagement. Since they did not CC anyone from the town, I am not at liberty to discuss what they wanted with anyone but them. I will follow up with them after our call.
I'd like to make a motion that Brian be the direct contact. And I'm also curious to see who the select person was that was prescribing methods and specific procedures that our audit must follow.
Right, I have something to say in regards to that also, if I could speak.
Sure.
I'm not sure what the policy is, but you may want to check with the town attorney on changing RFPs once we've accepted a bid.
Correct.
They put in a bid, You have, this has been delayed now. The audit should have been done December 31st. Do you realize
We're
we
in
can't get our
January.
bond
Yes.
without this audit? So I don't know what happened in the process. That explains why they wouldn't return my phone call.
Or
Usually
mine.
I touch base with them. I deal with the external auditors
Correct.
to set it up because I'm the one that works with them the most in getting all the paperwork together for an audit. And Linda, and we make time for them. When the TA was here, there was a request for when I was available. I made it all available, but nothing
There was no
transpired.
movement.
But I don't know what you can change and not change. And I would hate to lose, because if we lose them, then we have to go back to bid.
We have to start all over again.
We have to start all over. It's very costly.
Yes.
Everything is costing us.
Well, when you
money.
change anything in an RFP, then it's usually a T&M process once a bid has been
Right,
awarded.
and I haven't
And
seen
that gets
anything.
expensive.
I did
What
look.
is the change that was required?
I don't know. He
haven't
doesn't
seen
list
anything
that
in the minutes that
because none of us
stated-
were copied.
Right. I didn't see anything in the minutes
Do you
where
wanna
the
be the
board
con-
voted
do you want
to
me to be
change
the
anything.
Yeah, why don't you be the contact?
Okay.
So,
I'm okay with that.
so we'll amend the motion for Liz to be the point of contact for the Bonadil group
For the external
for
audit.
the external audit.
Okay, we
Hey,
have a-
Liz,
Yep.
follow up with Jeff Graham. The recommendations were from Jeff. Ryan, you have the email. You might want to forward that to Liz if she's going to follow up.
I just did.
Okay.
We got to vote on the motion here.
Who second the motion, please?
I'll do it. I'll second it.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to nominate the vice chair to be the contact person for the external audit. Is there any discussion?
And to have it stated, the audit stated as the RFP at this time.
Yeah, to have the audit
Within the
stated.
RFP at this time,
Yep. To go by the original stating.
because
Somebody should forward that to Jeff Graham as well. I don't think we've seen it, and I don't think Jeff's seen it.
okay,
Seen what?
seen the RFP.
Correct, because that was done before we were even elected to the board.
No, it wasn't.
You guys, I'm pretty sure you guys accepted Bonadio.
Yes,
accepted them.
we're the ones that accepted that external audit, that RFP, and then it,
Right, but the submission and everything happened before we became board members. That happened in February. I'm looking at the emails now.
The request for when we went out to bid might have the process started maybe before you, but the actual final decision was this board's.
Right, our first meeting, Ellen, you brought the paperwork in and told us that Bonadio was the only bidder and asked for authorization to go with them.
I'm not gonna argue with you, thank you.
I will make sure it's stated.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
the
So
question.
we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Marlena,
Marlena?
That was an I for authorization.
thank you.
Thank you.
You guys are going fast.
Okay.
All right.
So, discussion of internal auditors, concerns regarding treasurer and administrative assistant. We have an auditor that would wish to speak with us.
Can I borrow your pen? You can use mine.
So I had asked to put this on the agenda because I received an email on Thursday, January 2nd. Good evening. Can someone on the board touch base and tell us, the auditors, that you have or have not finalized your payroll policy so we can verify the use of sick time, holiday, and vacation towards overtime calculations? Sick time is still being used and we are not positive how the board finalized going forward. Please advise. Ellen, the auditors worked together and we fixed 2 different payroll issues, and the supporting documents were reprinted and shows correction for 1. This week's payroll, Ellen's delinquent tax check was processed as a reimbursement, not as a delinquent wages. Linda was busy and said she would correct it and leave the papers in the file, and Ellen would then process another payroll tax payment. I can sign off on the changes next week if you would like. Ellen had signed all payroll checks and were in envelopes, and she said she didn't realize her check didn't have any taxes withheld. We would like to say that Linda is finding time card adding errors and signing off incorrect was nice to see. Not all invoices have account numbers on them. Are you requesting numbers on them or not? Just would like clarity. The delinquent tax collector is still getting retirement. Is this correct or not? The auditors. So I added this because we've had so many conversations about people talking. You're in a small office. If you have a question regarding that, any of this, why don't we just ask instead of sending emails every week just nitpicking everything? When you guys are here in a small setting and you are adults, you should be able to talk. And my other concern is it's signed the auditors. Do all the auditors know that we're getting these emails?
They're CC'd in there, yes.
They're
And we
CC'd,
also-
but
we also sit and have discussions and talk about these things.
Do anybody think to ask the individual you're discussing?
We work together. I was trying to say that, we work together, we change things.
Okay.
I was trying to say that we actually work together, because you've all said, we're not working
Right.
together.
That's what we asked for.
I've noted things that, hey, things are being checked.
Okay.
I was trying to be
Okay.
positive.
Ellen?
I
Right.
didn't know, so that's...
Understand that I had stated to you that I hadn't even looked at my check. And yes, other checks were in an envelope. If you weren't sitting here waiting for that payroll, I would have looked through the payroll completely, but I figured your eyes were good. I like that you have the extra eyes and that you find this stuff. You did sign at the auditors. Dave was here. You did talk to him a little bit. He did come in the next day and check everything and make sure it was okay. Tom wasn't here.
And I spoke with Tom.
That's fine, but you signed it, the auditors. The auditors should all sign off. If you're gonna submit a letter, it should be all signed by you guys, honestly. One person shouldn't be speaking, and I think your chair should be the one that speaks and not just go out on your own. That's why you have a chair, but I'm not sure. My concern is you always make it sound like boom, boom, boom. They need to run the town with other things. I have no problem with you popping them a thing and saying, hey, I found this and we fixed it. But every little thing doesn't have to.
especially when you guys are here and can talk about it.
It was solved. It was resolved. It would have been different if it wasn't resolved. If I would have said, "Oh, too bad."
Right,
so
like I
sad.
said that. We resolved it. We worked together.
Okay.
Because everybody's been saying that we aren't working together and we aren't talking. So I specifically put in there, we talked, we worked together, this is what we did.
Okay.
Okay.
So I was trying to reach to the board and say, hey, I just want to let you know that we're working together. Instead, it's, everybody's mad at each other.
We're asking questions. I saw the note in the
Well, no,
warrant
and,
and I
and
asked
just
the question.
when
so.
we get this, it's like, well, let's get them to so we can all
And
talk
the question
about it.
is, are we, we're signing off on warrants
Right.
on the payroll policy, on which policy? We haven't got clarity, so we're just signing off we're going off as how it always has been. Because you guys are still working on it, have accepted it. We haven't ever gotten any emails of, hey, we changed the policy, can you look at
We
blah?
haven't got clarification on any
Correct,
changes.
so that's all I'm asking.
Okay.
The town peoples had come and said, hey, can you not change some of these policies until the forensic auditor is done? So, okay, did we put them on hold or did we change them? That's all we're asking, is for communication back to us, is if you change something for us. So we don't have to come in here and try to read, or anybody have to come in here and read every week. We just want to come in, make sure we're looking at things with what you guys have done.
And if there's an issue with the Beamers, did you get the original from way back when the town signed up? Because I would like to see it, because we don't have a copy. Did you get the information from there yet? Because I'm assuming that
Actually,
someone,
we haven't yet.
someone requested it, because I do know that. So I'm hoping that the employees and the select board, everyone in the select board can see that. Because
be
when
interesting
the
to see
board
how it was set up.
the board did have a discussion, as long as we had posted hours and we worked our hours. I have telephone calls at 6 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock at night, on vacation, during a funeral. It doesn't matter where I am. and I return their phone calls if I can't answer. I can almost guarantee when I turn on my phone tonight, I will have a phone call from a delinquent taxpayer because I work with them every day. If you have an issue with it, you should call me in as delinquent taxpayer and have a conversation with me. I have no problem with that. I didn't know there was a big issue with the Beamers. If there is an issue, then look into it. I have posted hours of 7A to 7P 7 days a week, and people still call outside those boundaries. We're talking people from banks, we're talking citizens, we're talking whoever, everybody. And I use my own personal phone for the delinquent tax job because that doesn't have to be done in the office. People work outside the office. And I pay for my own phone.
Do we know which board member requested it from Beamers? And was it being sent to them or was it being sent to the office?
I don't have any email.
I don't remember where we went.
All right, so
I know that was something we wanted.
I will email right after the end of this meeting. I will email Beamers and ask for a copy of our contract.
Yep, I think you can try
And
Jen, and I can't remember who the other lady is, but I do know, and because it was requested, and it was requested for the forensic auditor.
Yeah, that's right.
Ryan, Jeff Graham has it. The forensic auditor requested it.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
He couldn't get it by himself. He needed someone else to get it for him. I spoke to
Ryan
Jeff on that.
authorized it.
So
Like a meeting or two back.
I thought we did, but
Yeah, because Jeff's the one that brought that up in his preliminary report in December.
Correct, the one where that we found no fraud.
it might have went to him and he.
That one.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I'll email Beamers and ask for a copy of the contract to be scanned and emailed to us.
Because I did speak to Beamers. You can't go backwards, but you can go forwards. And if there's an issue, then we'll deal with it. But if you have an issue with me with either of my positions with something, I'd like to be called in and have a discussion and not be behind the scenes because a lot of stuff, I don't appreciate it. That's all. Thank you.
And Tom and Dave, do you guys want to add anything to this?
Dave's in the back. There,
I know, I don't
Johnny.
see him.
He's got my back. No, I think it's just communication. I think we can all do a better job communicating, and there's only 3 of us, but there's often times that we don't always hit it on the mark too, so it's just a learning piece. But I will say, since I've started this, knowing what the policies are, I can't go to a book and say these are the policies.
Right.
And that's really disheartening when you're an auditor because you don't know what to audit against. So I really feel that we're at a real we have a real problem with that.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else on that? All right, we'll move on to town office project update. Thank you for joining us, Paul.
Thank you, Colin.
Oops, I'm sorry. This is the microphone. First of all, we're continuing to provide additional clarification to the Rutland Division of Fire Safety for the building permit. Secondly, we're going to meet with Pownal's Development Review Board Wednesday, February 5th at their regular meeting. Third, at 4:30 p.m. on Wednesday, December 18th, an open meeting was held at the town hall here, attended by Jamie Percy and Eugene Melville, and myself. Bids were open for both excavating and construction of the foundation. It's recommended, having met the original estimate for work to be done, the Select Board award contract for excavating to Hunter Excavating Incorporated of Londonderry, Derry, Vermont. Also, it's recommended the Select Board approve rebidding the contract to construct the foundation, and that nearby concrete contractors be advised when the bid is advertised, so that we'll have more bids. And we're continuing to support our Select Board to procure the large school bell presently sitting on the floor in Pownal's Elementary School library. The school bell was salvaged years ago when a Pownal schoolhouse located on 346 was raised at the time Vermont schools became regional. the goal is to incorporate that bell atop Pownal's new town hall. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have to?
Pauline? Pauline?
Yes.
Marlene.
Arlene, want to leave me a copy of that?
Oh, I
please,
thought I
for the
did.
record? I don't, maybe you did, but I
It's
can't
okay,
find
you
it.
can have it. Thank you. Yes?
Yes,
Hi.
Marlena?
Do you have anybody given you a potential date as to when the digging can start?
Oh, we're not going to start until April.
April? Thanks.
Right.
You're welcome.
Brian, can I say one thing about the permit process?
Yeah,
absolutely,
As Mike
Mike.
Gardner, the zoning administrator,
Please.
the zoning permit was delayed, or, the building permit was
Right.
delayed, zoning permit. First off, we had to secure, one of the things that we tried to do was why have an application fee from the building committee to the
Right.
town to be paid back by the town.
Right.
So we had to secure permission from the select board. Took a little bit of time. All right. Secondly, when I started processing the permit, there were some things that were missing. So Pauline was pretty diligent about getting it to me, but that was the only reason there was a delay. There was no delay. Nobody held anything back. It was held back because of the permit application at the time was incomplete. Pauline and I worked pretty close together to get everything, to get everything complete so that it's a complete application. So that when it did or does go to the DRB, everything is there that they need to act on. Not, okay, wait a minute, we got to do this again next month, whatever.
Right.
We wanted to make sure everything was there that they need. So that was the only reason for a delay in the.
That's what
in
we're
the
hoping
permit
for, is our
process.
ducks are in a row so we can just keep them.
Exactly. I mean, we wanted to have, all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted and everything, along the way. So Pauline and I worked pretty close together on making sure we had everything. And it took some time. The holidays kind of threw us off a little bit.
Yeah.
We
Thank
got
you.
it.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pauline.
February 5th. Okay, the calendar.
Okay.
Okay, so
SVSU contract.
buses SVSU contract. I was gonna say, was there a printed one?
What, the agreement?
Yeah, for the
Yeah, it was
agreement?
in, yeah, everybody had one.
Yes, I must have gone by it.
Right there.
There it is. Wrong side. Okay, so we have the updated contract with all the changes that were specified by the SVSU school district, presented to us by the superintendent. The board had voted to accept the changes. We got new insurance update. Come to find out through some investigation, we could get liability insurance for the buses through our insurance through passive. So the school district was requesting $5 million as opposed to the $1 million that was initially obtained. We were initially told we couldn't get insurance through passive. Turns out that we can. So passive has $10 million worth of coverage for less money than what the $5 million coverage was proposed to us from an outside insurance company who, for lack of a better phrase, didn't like responding. So for lack of communication, they lose.
And I think there was one change, the driver wage. I think the initial one was $19.21 per hour, but I think Joel and Ellen,
They added all the other stuff
and
in
he
it.
said keep it at the $23.50. So I know that that's on the new one, just so everybody knows.
With all
So-
the insurances and workman comp.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the superintendent had made it clear to us that the school district, the school board, whatever number we gave them for a rate, they would accept because they wanted to get it moved forward. We would have had this done sooner, but I was attempting to work with the insurance company we already had a policy with. Like I said, they didn't want to communicate. They were not returning emails in a timely manner.
Yeah, we had
That
this-
was going 2 weeks at a time without responses from them. I'm sorry? Brad?
I just want to be clear, has the change been that Pownal will be on waiting list for using the bus?
The stipulation from the school district, and they were not willing to waver on it, was that Pownal doesn't get first say. They wanted it to be first come, first serve with a calendar that as it was put to us, they all play well in the sandbox together. Those were the words that were used, and that they do a great job of coordinating. If somebody has the bus scheduled one day, that they wouldn't try to muscle in one way or the other, that they would just simply coordinate a different day. So,
You're not gonna wear out our buses and then say.
well, those are some of the other things that we discussed. This is a pilot program. It goes into the rate that we're going to charge. My suggestion would be we see how this goes for the first couple of trips, see where it aligns cost-wise, and if need be, we can go back and adjust the rate to the school district to accommodate it. And if this is something the voters wish to pursue going forward after this trial period, then that's something we'll have to address as far as, like, do we do a sinking fund for maintenance and purchase of new buses? And if we do that, then that cost is going to be reflected in the contract. That's all stuff that we'll have to address going forward. Ms. Stewart?
Hey, Brian. How much did it increase the cost?
It didn't. It decreased it.
No. I meant to what we have to charge out now for the trips, because we have to carry the extra insurance.
$2 per mile, plus the driver's wage of $23.50 an hour. The mileage is round trip mileage. There's a 3-hour minimum for the hourly wages, and hourly wages are paid for initial pickup to final drop off. All payments are due within 45 days of billing, is the wording in the contract. I'm sorry, Jenny.
What was wasn't this supposed to be a year trial?
Yes.
When does that year come up? Is that this March? I don't remember.
If it's a ballot year, it's this March.
So is it going to be on the ballot this year to continue the buses, or no?
I don't think so. I think
How did the voters then decide if the year worked or not?
It never really got off to a start.
Yeah, we never really got started with all the delays that we faced.
What we voted for was a year, so I'm
Yes.
just asking how that's what happens now with the year and the testing and the.
My thought process is we basically run it for the remainder of the school year, see where we fall, cost wise, and then we go from there. And I guess that would be the board's decision on whether or not we choose to continue it or not.
We could always add it in a ballot article during November's election.
Yeah, we could do that.
Town side of it. So that way we'd have a fair counting.
Good idea.
So Brian, who's in charge of the calendar for the bus at this point?
The
select board?
School secretary.
Contacts
Linda.
That was a conversation I had with Julie at the school. The superintendent told us that Julie at Pownal School was going to be coordinating it.
Right.
Her and Todd said that they hadn't heard a word about this when I spoke to her privately.
Well, that was in our when.
That's what we were told in meeting.
And that's what she said, that she was a point of contact when they met with us here.
But for scheduling the bus, Julie is going to be the one that schedules the
Yeah,
bus.
they'll be calling her, and then they'll just call us and tell us what days they need the bus.
Right, so your contract right now, the contract you have, just so I'm clear on that.
Yeah.
The contract you have right now is for a 3-hour minimum.
Yep.
Yes.
For your hourly wage and $2 a mile.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, therefore over the minimum. Yes.
Yes.
Right, but it's $2 a mile, no matter if you use the bus for 4 hours or 3 hours.
Correct.
It's a 3-hour minimum.
Correct.
Right. I understand that part.
That we figured that because of the warm up time, prep time, and then clean up time afterwards. That was what the minimum fee was for.
Oh, I understand.
So,
I know what what you're talking about with the busing. And what do you have in place? You have 2 buses now, right?
We have 2 buses, but only 1 driver.
Right, and you have 2 buses in place right now.
Correct.
Right, in case
So
one needs work.
when those buses are no longer in the contract, the age of those buses are no longer in the contract. What is your plan for replacing those buses?
But that's
The
why
bus
it
you
has to
have.
go back to the voters to see if we want to continue this. Once we see where this is going to lead us, as far as actual numbers.
Do you know where your buses stand right now as the contract is? Because the town of Pownal becomes a vendor to the SVSU.
Right.
So you have to follow, or you have to be equal to or above whatever the contract states.
Correct.
So do you know how close your buses are to being out of date for out of service?
And Joe mentioned that, and I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
How many
I
years
thought he
we
said
had.
we had at least a couple more years.
Yeah, we had a couple. I know we had a few more years, but I don't know exact number. I don't remember it.
Okay.
Like we said, this is just the 1 year
No,
trial.
I understand. I
Right. Trying to keep us honest and.
I mean, and honestly, you know, I'm right now, Pownal has the Pownal school district budget that was forwarded to the help me out, Jim, the SVSU is that right?
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Elementary school.
There's $24,418 sitting in the budget, and I don't know how much of that has been used, but
For
that was
busing
budgeted
trips.
for fiscal year 2001. Was 24,418 for field trips, for transportation. Transportation outside of the assessed transportation for the district.
Correct.
That they're charged for. That can be used towards field trips. So, I'm just curious as the expenses, what are the, how now the town has to pay for insurance on top of the 24,000 that's been budgeted. Right? Am I correct?
Well, the town budgets and the school budgets are two different budgets.
Right, but
We
the
as a town
taxpayers
don't
pay for
have
both.
control over the
Yes.
town,
Right.
the school budget.
Right, the taxpayers are paying for both.
Yes.
So the fiscal year 2020 budget has in there, and I don't have.
You're
exact
talking the
number.
school budget.
School budget, yes.
Yes.
School budget has in there a certain amount of money for insurance.
Mhm.
Has in there a certain amount of money for maintenance.
Yep.
Driver, everything down through the bottom line is 24,418.
Mhm.
So now the town, which
Oh.
is the same, it's the same pocket. School district might come out of the left, town comes out of the right, but it's the same.
Yes, but
pair
by
of pants.
when you take and rent the bus, you're allocating from that line item to pay the fee that we're charging you.
I missed that part here. Sorry.
What you're saying that you're the school with
Yeah.
24,000 the line
Mhm,
item.
mhm.
Now, when you lease the bus for a field trip, you're taking from that line item to pay the town.
Mhm.
So it's not an additional. If it works out correctly, there should not be an additional fee to the taxpayer.
Well,
what
isn't
we're
there
trying
an
to say.
additional fee because now the town of Pownal, has to buy insurance on
Yeah,
those
but we've
buses.
got that figured into that rental.
I understand
That's what I'm saying.
But it's already in the school too.
I think Jim has some clarification.
I have to agree with you. What's going to happen is the school has their budget.
Mhm.
Taxpayers are paying into that budget.
Right.
When the town pays or sends a check to the school, when the school sends a check to the town, the way the town should have budgeted for this year, which it didn't do, it has a maintenance budget and it has a revenue budget.
Mhm.
They wash out. So what is being paid for by the town in insurance is
Right.
being reimbursed to the town to pay for it.
Correct.
Right, and so my one question is first, you all set with that now? Okay. My question is just when the 3 buses were sold, what happened to the funds for the 3 buses that were sold?
Went to a
that came in?
revenue line item.
Okay. But
If the treasurer was here, she could take and explain it fully, but went to a revenue line item under the buses
Okay.
for repairs and maintenance, upkeep and maintenance and fuel and whatnot.
Okay, so
That's
it
what-
will be absorbed if they
Yeah.
don't use all that money up in maintenance repairs. It's gonna be absorbed and it'll fall out into the fund balance.
It's a new line item within our highway department because
Right, but I
that equipment falls under the
Correct,
highway
Jim,
department.
whatever isn't used will fall to the bottom
Okay,
line.
thank you very
Right.
much.
So the taxpayers will get a win if there's anything over.
Which hopefully there will be because we haven't
Because we didn't use it.
Right.
used that much and spent gas. Okay, thank you.
So is the bus used primarily for schools, or can private organizations rent the bus? How did you set that up?
It's set up right now for the school district to use for the elementary
Just,
schools for field
just for
trips.
Pownal, or for all school districts in the S?
It's for all school districts
Ele-
from a consolidated
elementary.
district, but only the elementary.
There's only one school district.
Yeah.
And it's
Right,
all buildings.
Yes. Shasbury, Pownal, Bennington, Woodford.
I believe the senior group mentioned, but they were instructed to contact the school to make sure it wasn't already slotted though. I thought we had left that open there.
Yeah.
Like the senior group, there was 2 other, I'm not remembering specifics right now off the top of my head, but I know there was
I
other,
think it was the senior group, the Head Start.
Yes.
And then if your recreation department uses it,
Correct.
hopefully the recreation department will send a check to the road department. I
Right.
mean, the general will send a check to the road department to offset the
Right.
expense.
Yes.
correct, that's what's, I mean, everybody gets to pay the same, the contracts for everybody, but the formality was with the school district.
All right. Any other questions?
I just want to note too, I emailed you today, we did receive monies back from canceling the previous coverages.
I saw that. We got a refund of about $1,300.
And no, more than that. 3,000, almost 4,000 back.
Almost 4,000. Really tiny letters.
I know.
So,
Every little bit.
motion to give this to the board?
Approve the contract.
Yeah.
And
Second it.
all right, we have a motion and a second to approve the contract. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Okay. All right.
FOIA procedure.
So I'm good. All right. So I'm gonna sign the contract then.
Okay, yeah.
Today is
13.
20. I had a hard time with the 20 today.
in the presence of who wants to be the official witness.
I will. Can I?
I think so. Is it okay if vice chair's witness?
In the precedence file.
No, the next page is for the school district.
Okay.
Their representative, who I'm assuming will be the superintendent. All right, will you forward that over to the school? Joel said he would be willing to hand deliver it personally if need be.
Perfect.
So,
Now the FOIA procedure.
all right, so FOIA procedures. Hello, Town Agent.
Thank you for waiting.
So please introduce yourselves for those of you that don't know you.
Rebecca Dragon, town agent. I just came with a suggested FOIA procedure for going forward. This obviously isn't hashed out to minute detail, but considering I have now vetted 3 FOIA requests now, I'm a search admin on the system, I really understand how it works now. And so this is what I really think needs to happen. I have a temporary suggestion, and then I have like an ongoing suggestion of what could happen. So temporarily, I suggest you continue having me. We've got about, I think, 4 or 5 FOIAs on the docket. They are all rather large. I suggest you continue having me pull them and vet them on the system. It's easier for me to vet it literally on the system. And then have Chuck put those searches onto flash drives. And then I create a document with all of the emails that have been legally exempt from the search. And I can always run those by the lawyer. That's not a problem. However, once I place a legal hold on an email, that's always there. So once that's already been approved, that's a legal hold, that's an appropriate legal hold, we know that that's an email that does not go out in a FOIA. So the more I place on legal hold, the more protected this system becomes, right? Mm-hmm. So we already have, it's already going better because I've identified multiple. So this is just temporary. I think we should just do this until we get you guys need a policy. And until we get a really clear policy in place, at that point, you really should have your custodian of records doing this. It's very simple to create a FOIA search. The work is in the vetting. The work is not in creating the search. The search literally takes 3 minutes to do. You enter what you're looking for, you enter keywords, whatever it is, and then it populates this thing. And then you're sitting there with thousands of emails that you've got to go and look through. So, but we have to get through this next part, and this is my opinion, we have to be extremely protective over what's in there until we've really gone through the entire record and made sure we put legal holds on what we need to put legal holds on. Mm-hmm. So I'm already doing it. I'm already working with the town lawyer doing this. So I would suggest you continue having me do that just for now. Not I do not want to do this in perpetuity. Then going forward, I recommend that there's a policy for town emails. For anyone that has a town email, my recommendation is that if you even slightly think that your email could have sensitive information in it that should not be released in a FOIA, on the subject line you write confidential. That's the first word in the subject line. And so that way, the way it works is this. When I pull up a search and it has 1,000 emails in it, and then I search on the subject line confidential, only the ones that say confidential on them will go on. So someone will need to audit those. But it'll reduce the number, because what I'm doing right now is looking at every email. And I really, no.
Right.
Trust me, it is very tedious.
Hi, Bertie.
And so I think that going
Just so everybody hears, how many hours do you think you've put into the FOIAs that you've completed so far? How many hours?
easily 60 to 80 hours, if not more, if easily.
And I would like to point out that she's doing this for free.
Mhm.
So before anybody says that we're spending money on this, she's doing this for free.
I'm doing it for free. So, anyone is welcome to buy me a drink later. I'm happy to take payments like that. Okay, so so if you write confidential on that, now we've created a smaller system that has to be audited, and then on top of that, it prevents, if you have someone auditing your confidential emails, it also prevents the possibility that someone could hide an email that they're trying to hide. Just say, well, I'm just say it's confidential, but I'm gonna say that I'm robbing the town $2,000. You know, like if there's something that they're doing and they try to hide it, they can't hide it because we have to audit all of those emails. And so that the person auditing those confidential emails makes a decision. Is that truly confidential? No, it goes out in the FOIA. If it is, it gets a legal hold placed on it. So then what you do, or what I've been doing is, once I've placed all my legal holds on the emails that I know are confidential, I resave the search with the confidential emails, the legal holds excluded. So now I have a clean search. And that's what I've been doing. Then I go back in, I look at the legal holds, and I make a list of every single email that was redacted and the statutory reason why it was redacted. So that's what I've been doing. That's the procedure I think you should be doing going forward. Literally everyone with a town email needs to remember to put confidential at the front. That will, I think, is the simplest way to go forward with FOIA requests. Once we get, I'm happy to also write you a draft policy. I'd be happy to do that. I'll talk to the VLCT and add this kind of part in. I think, and then once you have this done, this policy in order, and you have a good procedure going forward, so we're really protecting that record and protecting the records that need to be protected, then, I think that you could continue to have the town agent audit, but really not searching anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, for now, I'm happy to do it, but ultimately, once I get it really set up in a good policy, I can train whoever's going to do that how to do it and pass that on.
Well, the town agent has a specific window of responsibility.
Well, legal, and so right
Legal.
now this is a fairly
Right.
appropriate use of my time.
So that's, that's why I think.
If I'm
still
vetting and
covered
auditing
utilizing.
the legality of legal exemptions and things like that, helping to prevent litigation and lawsuits. So that's absolutely, but it should become a much simpler job ongoing, and it's very clear actually what emails are truly confidential and which ones are not. And so whoever ends up doing this auditing, whether it's me or another town agent, or whether it's the custodian of records, whoever it is, or even if it's multiple people, it doesn't have to be just one person, as long as it's really clear who does what. I don't know. To me, that's my suggestion for FOIA procedures going forward.
Thank you. And thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah.
And so I would say we authorize her to reach out to the VLCT and draft a model
second that.
policy for us, and then she can present it to us.
Yeah, I would be happy to do that.
All right. So, do we need to make a motion for that?
Yes. I seconded it.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to authorize the town agent to reach out to VLCT and to draft a proposed FOIA policy for us. Proposed. So, is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? All right.
Have all kinds
And
of
I
state
and,
statutes
and,
right
and I'm
here.
assuming
All kinds
and
of state
and
statutes right
I'm
here.
assuming that I am good to complete all the FOIAs that are on the docket right now. I have full. Just so you know that my new
Once you're-
procedure is that I am having to have another set of hands on it, so it's not just me. Chuck is pulling the searches, and he is the one who's placing them onto the flash drives. And
Yep.
then I'm going to take that back, and I'm going to look at it
You're
again
vetting them.
before I hand it to anyone.
Okay.
I'm going to very precursorily. I know what shouldn't be in there, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so town administrator position. So, I know we're not going to resolve the issue tonight, but I wanted to get the conversation started as far as what the board is thinking as far as the town administrative position on how we are going to proceed forward with that. Does anybody have any suggestions or ideas?
I do. I have
Okay.
a few. I don't know, just brainstorming it. I feel like Linda has been doing the town administrator position. Is knowledgeable. She'd be the next person in line to put there, in my opinion. And then hiring someone for her position that she can train. It's just brainstorming. I don't know.
I think it's a needed position due to the fact that
It was
The volume of work.
in the
well,
volume.
most select board members have full-time jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you are fortunate to be retired and have time on your hands to do the research, it's be nice to have somebody that you could trust and to do research. I think we want to look at the job description again, and maybe tweak it to fit more for the select board, use of the select board and the subcommittees. I do believe that, I mean, is working a full-time job to take and do the research to come up with a lot of this stuff, and not being a computer guru, it does take a while for me to get there, but I mean, I attempt to do my due diligence, and it would be thankful
I
to have
personally-
somebody to take and do that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I agree with Jamie, and you know that it's an application process. Everybody's allowed to apply. Got to go through the regular application process.
Somebody has a comment. Hold on, Marlena. Yes, please state your name.
Sharon Nichols. I'm just wondering, before we hired the TA, who did the job?
Linda.
Right.
That's right.
No, I understand Linda did the job.
Linda did the job before the TA. Linda did the job for the TA. He got paid for doing nothing. And that's a fact. Sorry.
Well, that's a matter of opinion.
That's right. That's a
So
matter.
everybody's
I
entitled
do
to their
want to
opinion.
say thank you, though, for completely stepping up and doing everything that you've been doing. Really.
I like my community and I've worked here for 30 years.
So, I appreciate your dedication. Thank you. Me personally, when we get into the job description, I would like to see the disciplinary part of the person's role removed.
That should be the board.
It should be the board, because it's, I don't feel it was appropriate for that individual to have say over discipline. I feel they can recommend it, but ultimately it should be the board's decision. Whether the board nominates one person to handle it, or does it as a board decision.
Well, the board does the hiring and firing, so.
Correct.
That's why I feel that. I agree with you.
Because my feeling is it eliminates the possibility of the position being weaponized.
So are we going to post the position?
Well, we're going to need to sit down and we're going to need to,
Do the
I
job
feel we're going to need to
description.
rewrite the job description. And my opinion is before we even post anything, that we need to have a clear-cut evaluation form ahead of time.
Yes.
We need to have clear-cut disciplinary policy and forms ahead of time. We need to have clear-cut guidelines of expectations, duties and responsibilities. We need to have all that outlined ahead of time before we post it.
Therefore,
And
there's no questions.
if this takes 6 months and into the next board, which it most likely will, that's the action I feel we need to take. We need to make sure that we cover our bases and make sure that we are prepared for this position and that it's not just the Wild West.
In the interim, should we put someone in that position? I mean, I just feel like Linda's doing it's just everybody's
Well,
stretched
I think
right now.
we've kind of discussed before informally about hiring an assistant for Linda regardless because of the volume of work that's coming through and it's only getting worse. I feel that we should hire an assistant.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And I believe for hiring an assistant, I believe we could use the same job description that Linda currently occupies. And this would be in addition to her position. I would say part-time hours. 20 hours a week. That would be my recommendation.
I think we
I
need to
agree.
have a work study on, or a work bee on that one.
I'm just thinking right now, like just to like, I don't know, just post something. Just
Well, do you want us? Can we legally hire temporary staff, like through a staffing agency?
Sure.
Would you?
Well, there's already a part-time employee. She should be checked with first to see if she would like extra hours.
How many hours she already works?
Got to reach out to her and ask her.
Who?
The secretary for the DRB and Planning Commission. She's a part-time employee.
Well, that's one idea.
I just want
I
to
don't
make sure
think you
it's
can
okay
vote
for
for
the whole office.
Position when you have a
want the
part-time
office-
employee without checking with the part-time employees to see if it would make sense to bump them up.
And I think if we do a hiring process, I think the office should be involved with that. They have to work together. Like, it just, with everything that's going on, I'm just trying to just make it as easy as possible for everyone involved.
Well,
I mean, they have to work together.
We want to break up the inner office strife. Yes, I understand where you're going.
That's, I would agree with that. That's why my thought process was leading me toward reaching out to a staffing agency and trying to see if we could get a secretary part-time while we figure out what we're going to do permanent staffing
Just
wise.
to
That
help,
way,
just to get us
you don't
through,
have to
'cause
worry
we can't
about
do anything until
you don't
we
have to
have
worry about insurance. You don't have to worry about VMers. It's a temporary staff, temporary position. 3-6 months, whatever.
And let us figure this out in the interim. And
Well, and you got to remember there's also been recommendations from the external auditors listed in their audit reports to look at hiring somebody with a financial background.
I'm just thinking temporary at this point, just until we can get everything
Till we can do a
settled
permanent
and
job posting.
situated.
Right. We'll brainstorm and get our
Just because
get
they
the job
need to be able to
description
function.
that we want.
Can I say, I wouldn't go down the road. Linda's been doing the job all along.
Yeah.
Really, she trained Mr. Walker. She helped him out.
Mhm.
She's been doing the job. So now change the criteria for the job. Build it up so high that somebody coming right out of college can qualify to take the job over somebody that's done it for 20 or 30
That's
years.
not what
I'm not saying build the criteria up. I'm saying have it be more.
Somebody's going that way.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong,
Go
I
ahead.
think we're just covering our bases, given everything that is,
Given what we just went through.
Our past experience.
so to try to keep
If they're
everything.
redesigning or redesigning the job description or working on the job description, work protections for the town administrator into that. Boundaries between subcommittees, subboards, and for the citizen groups, have boundaries to protect the town administrator, protect the town. Those are the things that you need to look at while you're designing this job.
Like I said, we're
Not worrying about somebody with a big financial background. It's like these are qualifications that are going to look really good on paper, but the person might not be able to actually do the job.
Well, I appreciate your opinion, Fred. Rosemary?
A suggestion would be, I think, we've only heard the negative things about the town administrator and what justified his being terminated. But I know from the first meeting that I came after he was hired, the amount of work that he did from the time hired to the first select board meeting was impressive. And I think it would be beneficial to look at what he actually accomplished in his time here. And then compare it to what of those things had not been accomplished in the past. And take those things into consideration with your job description.
Well, I don't think anybody here disagrees that we need an additional person to help alleviate the workload.
Right.
Nobody's disagreeing with that. My feeling is we need to make sure that the position, the person, whatever incarnation the position takes, is utilized effectively at the direction of the person's supervisors, which would be the select board, and not listening to people who are A, unelected, or not even in town employees. And I feel that, me personally, I feel that the position should have no disciplinary responsibility. Make recommendations? Yes.
I'm not arguing that.
Those are just some of my concerns on how I would like to see it proceed forward. So, do we want to create a workshop for doing this? Or do we want to, I think we need to get the budget stuff done first.
Yes, we do.
So I would say we postpone that discussion for the position until after we get the budget finalized.
I concur.
In the meantime, should we look into hiring a part-time temp to help you, Linda?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I would say we authorize Linda to reach out to staffing agencies to see if she can get a secretary or a temp worker that can help do clerical work.
Are you okay doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
Because Linda knows what the duties and responsibilities will be, so she can better describe what she's going to need. All right. So I'll make a motion that we authorize the administrative assistant to reach out to different staffing agencies, to whoever she sees fit, to hire a temporary assistant for her for...
You okay?
Well, we have to hire them, I think.
What?
I think we have to do the hiring, but she can take and bring the person.
Well, for her to do the legwork as far as contacting them and arranging to get somebody here.
Yeah.
All right. What time frame are we looking at for length of service? 3 months, 6 months?
Okay.
Do 3 months at first.
3 months with an option to extend?
Yep.
All right. So to do an option for 3 months with an option to extend. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Marlena?
Aye.
Liz?
I said aye.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. All right, all opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay.
Next one, office help.
I believe we just spoke to birds with one stone.
That's what we did.
Worker comp.
Okay, workers' comp.
All right, workman's comp for both fire departments. So,
Get
under
some
new
more
business.
numbers.
Sorry?
I was wondering what the number that we got in.
I see, according to email, Brian, you want to bring them up to date, or?
So there was emails, I was notified back in end of December by the chief of the Pownal Valley Fire Department that, there's one, that essentially the state of Vermont, passive was no longer going to cover for workman's comp insurance for the fire department because the fire department didn't have their liability insurance or their equipment insurance through them. So essentially through emails it boiled down to where if they didn't have all their insurance through passive, they couldn't cherry pick.
You know, I always shame on me, but I assumed that the town had their equipment just as a town equipment under a policy. I didn't realize that we had the fire department themselves had a separate insurance policy on that stuff.
So they've done their workman's comp insurance through the town for
Ever.
yeah forever.
Well, that's always
But they do their
town.
equipment and building and such through a separate insurance.
So through their own budget.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That is my understanding. So Passive has decided that they don't like that. So they had initially requested that they get insurance, separate insurance for their workman's comp on their own effective like January 1.
Which they did. They got their own coverage.
Okay.
Through the
Shut that off.
passive, it actually cost the town $1,219 because the fire department had to reach out and to seek their own coverage. The cost now went to $2,900, which I believe the fire departments are expecting the town to pay that worker comp bill when it comes due,
Up to 2,900.
up to $2,900. And that would be for both departments.
Does that include the rescue squad?
No, it does not. The rescue squad EMTs are still covered under the town policy. Until they get noticed.
It's all right. I'm making my own notes. It's fine. Do my own
That
thing.
is quite the increase.
Yes.
Yes, I knew they would never be able to get the coverage for the same cost.
Yeah, because we have the bargaining power of being
Right.
a municipality.
Passive is just too
Does-
large.
Doesn't Passive handle other town insurances already though? Our town
They handle our town insurances
and our
and our
comp,
equipment.
our comp and equipment.
Mhm.
So I personally would I push back against to Passive myself and state that the fire department still falls underneath the town envelope.
They've already required the fire department to obtain their own, and the fire department did so. I tried to get another year of coverage because the town, I felt, was given very short notice.
Yeah, for budgeting and everything. Yes.
They just were given short notice. Our policy renewal was January 1.
I mean, because Passive is the state, correct?
Passive is through the league.
Correct. So when the league falls under the state. So basically, the state is basically
No,
pushing
this-
out the small through.
I'm not quite sure that it's not state.
No,
Well,
VLCT
It's not
run
state.
is
It's
an
by the
independent
municipalities.
organization, independent of the state, but they run.
It was started
in
under
cooperation
statute
with-
through the state of Vermont. That was the same little group thought process is what started this CUD that came for us tonight.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. And now the state has implemented VLCT to take and group the towns, and that's what we've basically bought into.
Right.
And now, and then Passive is part of them, and now basically VLCT is saying, well, we're gonna pick and choose what we're gonna do. Well, personally, we already pay VLCT, we already pay Passive as the town of Pownal. It's the town of Pownal fire departments, whether it's falls under an envelope of separate department of the valley or, North Pownal departments, it still should be covered under the town policy. Even if they choose not to do their own equipment, when they're on scene, they're a town employee. They're not a fire department employee. If they get hurt, the town is responsible for any of our EMS and our fire service. And therefore, they should be covered under that same policy as our regular town employees at that purpose.
They put them in an assigned risk group, which goes to another company, which is the state-run company.
But that's
The
what I'm.
assigned risk.
Right. I understand the risk group, but the same thing is that, an employee is an
personally, I was
employee.
quite surprised
Once
that
that
they
tone
didn't-
goes in, they're covered.
Right.
They're doing a service, voluntary, they're doing a service,
Exactly.
and
Well,
that
quite
really pisses me off.
personally-
They can pull the trigger on this.
Yes, I was upset myself about it because of the short notice primarily. The EMTs, I was surprised that because we do not insure their equipment or their building, why they were not asked to
Well, that's-
obtain their own.
The liability is different, I believe, other than, except for like a car accident, for their equipment and whatnot versus the fire apparatus. I mean, there's a whole different thought process there. But personally, and I wouldn't. I'd still like to reach out again to passive and state the argument that when that tone goes in, these volunteers are town. That as far as workman's comp goes, they are town employees. And to segregate at that point, I really pisses me off, because not one of these people come forward and ask for $1 for the amount of time that they take and donate as a volunteer to the community. So, Jim?
Unfortunately, I agree with what you're saying, but legally, because they're working and volunteering their times for an independent entity, if it was a Pownal Fire Department, yes, I would say that could happen. But unfortunately, the equipment and the buildings and everything are under independent, incorporated entities out there. So there's no way that they can be under a workman's comp, because it's based on the salary and pay. Without a salary and pay, I'm sure they're being put into a risk group that's happening. So the question is, which entity are they working for? They are working for Pownal Valley Incorporated or Pownal Center.
Right.
All right. If it ever got to the point of they being under the town of Pownal, then yes, it would happen that way.
I guess it depends on the town charter.
True.
Okay. But that still annoys me.
Oh.
To the point. I mean, you got people willing to volunteer, and
maybe eventually there would be one big fire department that is under the jurisdiction of the town of Pownal, and we'd have one big building, and we'd have sub-stations all over the place, and we'd have a budget that we can maintain.
well, we don't need to have one big building. You'd have the substations, so you have the proper coverage. That's how it was designed. So
True. No, that's true.
I agree with the why it's laid out the way it is. So, but did you have?
So I'm not the smartest on insurance. I think I understand what you guys are saying, but regardless of who the policy is held under, whether it be the state or whether it be through each of the fire departments, I believe, like Linda said, that the fire departments would send then the town to help with that reimbursement. Was that what you said, Linda?
The insurance companies, I'm sure, were instructed to send the premium invoice to the town of Pownal for payment.
Okay.
So I guess, is that a problem, or is that going to be? It sounds like it went up. You said from $1,200 to $20.
Yeah, it went up $1,700.
$1,700
roughly. I mean, and it's just the principle of the matter, I guess. And I still haven't learned that I can't win on principles.
All the time.
Anyhow, my rant's over.
Well, we need fire coverage.
Oh, definitely. I guess it depends on how the charter's set up, and if the charter's set up.
Well, I was gonna say, to me, I see two options.
So
one, we pay this, we increase the budget for it, or we would have to create a budget line item, I would think.
Right. We're definitely going to have to do that.
We have to.
I mean, we can't leave these guys not covered.
The other option is, do we see about incorporating it into the municipality to see if that's something the fire district would want to do?
I was going to say that.
And we absorb it and make them town employees, volunteer town employees.
I think that would have to go on a ballot, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, that's what I mean.
We'd have to look at the charter. We'd have to vote to change the charter, but we'd have to take and bring it up to the departments, and they're very proud of how they're set up.
I'm not advocating that option.
I'm not going to take in.
I'm playing devil's advocate here. That's
as far as changing the town charter. I'm not really wanting to take and argue that point. My argument is that these guys volunteer, and I know either way the town of Pownal taxpayers are flipping the bill, whether they're a technical employee or not, and that's where I was going. So,
I mean, I guess the other option could be that we request that they pay the bill themselves, and then they're going to have to repetition for the ballot to increase their budget to accommodate it.
Either way,
but either way, the
to cover it.
the town taxpayers are going to pay it.
I mean,
So the easiest option is that we just pay it directly.
Right.
So.
It just annoys me that these groups can take and pick and choose, basically. So.
I mean, I guess the other extreme option is we could choose to exit the VLCT.
Well, we'd have to weigh the pros and cons of there,
That's
too.
a whole nother.
Well, that's a
that's
big
a whole
discussion.
other problem.
You have to give them 60 days notice.
Steve?
I don't know about the town. I mean, I know how regular insurance, you know, your car insurance goes up, you go and you look for another
Right.
carrier.
Right.
I don't know what the if it wasn't like this last year and the line item was put into the budget for a certain amount and this year is different. I don't know what are the other options of going and you know, I hate to take it into whatever commercial. I'd like go to Allstate or whatever. Is there
Right.
another even option, or is
Yeah.
this just the way
I
it is now and we move on? And
honestly don't know. I mean, I don't. Which.
Well, the training we went to up north when we first took office, Liz, me and you, I don't know if you remember, they talked about like the benefits and that all but I think a dozen municipalities in the state of Vermont are members of VLCT and
Right.
take part in passive, and the benefits of it is you have like the was it something ridiculous like $5 million liability coverage if the municipality gets sued, and it's stuff like that.
That's how you got your
You lose
10
the
million
benefits.
on your buses.
Yep.
Right.
Through that.
Right. So, I mean,
it's-
there
it's
is
those
pros
things
to
that
it.
you
I
have
just
to look at. You know, if we were to leave VLCT, I'm not saying we're gonna, but then we have to then research and get insurance on for everything independent of that. Where right now it's like one-stop shop.
Don't you pay dues to VLC?
We do.
Also, besides the insurance.
True.
So,
Right.
and add that on to the insurance cost.
Yep. But I believe that is a larger debate.
Yeah. Some
For another
claims they
time.
pay and some claims they don't.
Right.
Yep.
Where we've been better off with the previous company, another company.
Is it legal to do a shout out under the fire department
To do for what?
as far as grant availabilities?
For insurance?
Yeah. Well, I don't know what they could look into them.
I think we've been looking into grants even for a new building, and
Yes.
they're kind of hard to come by.
And that's where I was going to say. Shannon McLenithan's found a couple of other places, and so if the fire chiefs want to reach out to Shannon McLenithan, or whoever the department designee, and get the information from her, she's more than happy to take and fill people in. So.
Well, in the meantime, I vote we.
In the
we
meantime,
accept it and pay
you're
it.
going to have to
Yeah, I'll second that.
incorporate it.
We have a
Yeah,
motion and a second to pay the workman's comp bill as it comes in. So, any any discussion?
Beat it up.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Let's hold that work.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So, scheduled general fund budget work session. We started doing that earlier before the meeting started.
Thursday?
So,
Right?
yep. So we have a meeting scheduled for Thursday anyway. So, you guys want to try to come in an hour or so beforehand?
Plan on 6.
I was gonna say I can be here as early as 5.
Okay, that's fine.
If we start earlier, maybe we'll end earlier.
Well, no, we'll still have the regular meeting after.
Right.
To go through.
So, because this is for the finalization of the road budget and the transfer station.
And it's here? Or
Right.
the transfer station?
No, we'll do it here.
Here.
Well, we won't all fit in the transfer station.
I didn't
shack.
mean, I was
But we
thinking
could try.
Darcy for some reason. Okay, so here. 5 o'clock.
Calendar.
All right, so plan
What's the
on
difference
5.
in start it at 5:30?
I'm sorry, Marlena.
Can we split the time difference from 6 and 5 and do it at 5:30?
5:30 acceptable to you?
Sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so 5:30.
And can I please get copies of the budgets ahead of time?
I will email the department heads to ask to forward email copies to all of us.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Joel. Okay, so we've got that set for this Thursday. 5:30 p.m. Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
we have, I second. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Is there any discussion?
It's not funny.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And we're adjourned.